Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Elbows Tight Podcast. This is your host, Travis. Got my main man, John, sitting next to me. How you doing today, John?
I'm doing fantastic.
And we have two special guests today for the first time ever on Elbows Tight Podcast. We got two people here. We got our main man, Jelson. How you doing, Jelson?
I'm doing great, man. How about you?
Not bad. Can't complain. And our main man, Chris, over there. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
Good. So before we get into who these guys are, what we are going to get into is a little bit of the beverage of the day. And we have two beverages today. Well, kind of three beverages of the day today. John, what we got?
Well, for our first foursome, we have Tito's.
First foursome.
Is that handmade vodka? Wow, look at that. Handmade vodka. And we're mixing that with some Fever Tree Premium Ginger Beer. I can't remember what these are called. What are we drinking?
Moscow Mules.
Moscow Mules. They taste delicious. I can see why they're dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other one? We got some Heineken. Was there anything else with the Heineken?
Just Heineken.
Just
I hope
Heineken.
there's something else with it.
Well,
It's perfect.
well, you know, my math is slow, and I'm like, he said 3. And then I got, the beer and the vodka.
Yeah, the beer
Got
and
it,
the
got
vodka. Yeah,
I got it.
You guys drink Moscow Mules often?
Not too often, but every time it is available, I'm on it, dude.
Dude,
Yeah.
I just recently found out about the Moscow Mule phase. Like, I didn't realize they were a real thing until I
they're
moved
good.
up here. And then everyone was like, "Oh, can I get a Moscow Mule? Can I get a Moscow?" I was like, "What is this thing? I like the copper cup. Let me get
Yeah,
one of those."
right?
It's dangerous.
It is dangerous. They're so good. So, Jelson, you said the Heineken is not your favorite beer. What's your favorite beer if you could have it right now?
All the time, man. I don't. Some kind of IPA, man. Let's see. Hales Ale.
Hales Ale.
Super Goose.
Oh my gosh,
That is really good
So
IPA,
good, man.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm an IPA guy too.
Yeah.
I like really any IPA from Silver City Brewery is
Mhm.
like legit.
Like
it is
Tropic Haze, that's
yes,
dangerous, bro.
Yes,
Yeah,
man.
that
You
was
guys see the Tropic
delicious.
Haze that drives around the van?
Yes.
I'm like, I wish you haven't
No,
seen it.
no,
Yeah,
there's a
he's
van that drives around.
he's always around at like big events and stuff like that. He's driving the van.
Have you had the glitter peach?
I have not.
We've had that one on the show. Delicious.
the glitter peach? What was that one?
That was I think the second podcast. We had the peach one. It was delicious.
Oh, that's right. I'm gonna have to go back and
Mhm.
listen to that. Yeah, no, I'm a huge IPA guy. For a while, I was a stout porter guy, and then
Mhm.
I realized I don't like drinking meals, so I don't like being full after having a single beer.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah, that's
kinda
true.
stopped. But now I usually drink IPAs. Big IPA guy now, or whatever that last beer we had. In the
That
last
was
episode.
yeah. That was. I'm
That-
trying to forget it honestly.
So hey, now that we got the beverage of the day out of the way, John, what we gonna do now?
Man, well, let's have you guys introduce yourselves. Give us a little bit of where you're from if you're not from Washington originally. I'd love to hear a little bit about your jiu-jitsu journey, where you're at, what level you're at right now. As you know, me and Travis are on that
That
white belt journey right now.
White
And I gotta say, like the first year, not that I'm not gonna introduce you guys, but I was like, man, I can't wait to get that blue belt. But now the longer I've been doing it, I was like, man, I could stay a white belt a lot longer.
I could definitely just
Like,
hang
really
out here.
appreciate it a lot more
Yeah,
when
like
you're
the
not
long-
a white belt anymore. But when you're a white belt, I think a lot of people want to get out of that phase, especially like for you guys. You guys are so into it right now.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
You know, people ask you about your hobby, and
It's like, I love jujitsu. They're like, what belts are you? I'm a white belt. I love it.
everybody knows that's the first one. So
Yeah.
you're like, oh,
You
you
know,
know, you're
and-
not
and-
good at your hobby.
yeah, you're not good at your.
But that's not true, you know. But
I told John, like, we got to make the podcast for the belt that everyone will always get in jujitsu, the white belt. There will always be white belts in jujitsu. This podcast is made for those guys.
and on that, we can't really find a lot of information for white belts on podcasts.
Yeah, very true, very
when
true.
you start looking, it's mostly high level black belt competition guys, and that's mainly what they talk about. So a lot of the stuff we struggle with, we're like, man, nobody talks about that kind of stuff. So
Right. So,
it's interesting. But Chris, why don't you go ahead and start? Give us a little bit of background and
hey,
Oh,
Mike
sure.
or Chris, before you do that, just
Mic
turn
quiet?
the mic into your face, like. Turn it towards
Oh,
you.
perfect.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
And then if
Okay.
you want to lift up the boom arm a little bit so you're not hunched over
Travis
like I
is
am.
like all about it.
Yeah, and then you're talking to it just a little bit
You
more.
know, I got to figure out this right angle. Okay. All right. All right. Well, you know, I'm from the area. I was born in the Philippines. But
Really? Did not know that.
Me
yeah.
neither.
Yep. Dad was in the Navy. We moved here shortly after, so most of the time I just say I'm from the Kitsap area. I've been training for about 11 years.
Dang.
I started in March of 2008.
Wow.
Got my black belt last year. Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been great.
What got you into jiu-jitsu?
The first UFC.
The UFC 1?
Yeah. My dad did karate, and so I did for a little bit, and he would hang out with his friends from the dojo, and that was around the time they first had that first UFC on pay-per-view, and we went over to this guy's house, and this guy just mopped the floor with everybody.
Yeah. And he was the
It was
smallest
Hoist.
guy there.
It was Hoist. Yeah, it was a smaller
Right.
guy, and I'm like, oh, that's me. I'm not very tall, The guy had good technique, and I would drive by this Brazilian jiu-jitsu place every day on my way to work, and just went in one day, and that's that.
What was your first school?
I started with George.
Oh, you did start?
Yeah,
with-
yeah. He
And,
had
and
a
just for people that don't know who George is, can you, who's that? Is that what gym do you go to? Has it been the same gym the whole time, or?
Yeah, so it's hybrid gym now. It was just I think just a Marcelo Alonso Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school. At the time when I drove by, I don't remember what it was called.
I think it was just like hybrid MMA. That's what I remember it to be.
But that was a thing later on too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was just like a little school he had. It was just some little space he had leased. It had wrestling mats. It was very, very simple, and just there was probably 30 members max.
Wow.
When I came in, and George is an awesome guy.
Yeah.
George is Marcelo Alonso's first American black belt. He's Seattle PD, and just trained with him, and
you
got
got
his
him. He
black
got you
belt.
hooked.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I came in, and the guy's so nice. To this day,
Yes,
this is one of the
absolutely.
nicest men I've ever met, and yeah, just like that.
Stuck with
just
it ever
took
since.
off
Did you ever
with it.
think you were going to be a black belt when you first started?
No,
No?
not even a goal. Not even a thing. I didn't know it took average of 8-10 years or 12
Yeah.
years or whatever they say it takes for people to get there. I just wanted to get decent at it.
Yeah.
I started for self-defense, and then the sport really kept me hooked after a while.
Really?
And oh yeah, the sport was super fun. And probably why I still train today, for the most part.
Yeah. Have you competed as a black belt?
I have not. I
Mm.
have not. No.
Do you plan on it? If so, let me know. I want to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Pretty
Me
sure
too,
there's
man.
something in November.
Yeah.
That's
right.
true.
That's right. And you guys go first too, right?
Oh yeah, that's the best
So-
part about
so
it. That's really the perk.
It's
is
like you
get
guys
to
go at
get-
like 7
you go
a.m. You're
in-
like, oh, all right, time to
you
go
in, get done, get out, and get on with the rest of your day.
That's
For
right.
everybody else, you guys have to wait until the early
PM.
afternoon, and it just takes takes
Forever.
your day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, Jelson, hey, why don't you tell us a little about yourself, man? Where you from? How long you been doing it? Same thing.
All right, man. So like Chris, I was born in the Philippines too.
Mhm.
I moved out here in '92 when I was like 7.5 years old.
Wow.
And then just been in the area ever since. Chris and I actually went to high school together, and it's
Yeah.
kind of crazy. It's like in jiu-jitsu community, like you'll just it's weird that people is just into whatever you're doing.
Right.
And I didn't even realize that he's been doing it since 2008. Holy shit, man, like a
Small world.
Yeah, exactly, man. And so I started jiu-jitsu in Japan when I was TDY there for work, 2012, and then I've been wanting to get into some kind of form of martial arts, right? And then rodeo style gym over there. It was a full-blown MMA gym, and they had the class like kickboxing and then jiu-jitsu and stuff. Like I like kickboxing and boxing. Like
Yeah.
grew up watching boxing most of my life, right? And then jiu-jitsu, honestly, I hated it.
What?
I hated it. I had no grappling experience at all. Never wrestled, none of that stuff.
Training it or watching
Training it.
Okay.
And then like watching it, I just like never found interest in it just because like
Sure.
I don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
But then like after a while, it's like, man, I really suck at this grappling stuff, you know? So like after a while, like, or when I come back home from Japan, it's like, no, I want to look for a straight up academy where it's only for just jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And because obviously there's something I sucked at and I wanted to be better at it. So I kind of searched around the area, and for some reason I wanted to find a gym across the water. I don't know, maybe just to kind of explore a little further out
Yeah.
from town and stuff. So I did that, and then found 253 BJJ, and then I fell in love with the people over there. And it was kind of funny too, cause like as much as I love going to jiu-jitsu over there, like I started like probably towards like another TDY trip. So I only did it for a couple of months and then left and then came back. And then so it wasn't ever like consistent, right?
Right.
Until I went back to Japan and trained at the same gym. And then when I came back in 2015, like my last trip in Japan, like from there on, I hit up my professor here again. I was like, hey man, like I'm gonna take it seriously, and then just like actually like train all the time.
Yeah.
So from like 2012 is when I actually initially started any martial arts, but 2015 is when I've been consistent till now. You know what I mean? And I love this sport, dude. And so I try to compete all the time as much as I can at every single belt. Just because, like, as much as you're training, like, I want to see for myself, like, how well I'm going to actually do out there like, against anybody else. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that's how I, like, John and I kind of drop in at other schools now, is because it's when there's not a competition going on. Like, and we're not against competition, but...
Well, I was. I'm not now.
Yeah.
I went and watched, and I've been honest about that from the beginning. So.
Yeah, so now we could drop in at other schools, and it's good for the podcast too to meet other people and like explore the community and whatnot. But it's always interesting to hear people's like why they got into jiu-jitsu, because a lot of people start with self-defense, and then the sport grabs them, and they're like, I just can't let it go, man.
Self-defense is the most boring thing to train now.
I know. No, I like watch. What is it? GJJ, right? Is that what the
Gracie Jiu-Jitsu? Yeah. It's like how they dub it. Yeah.
And I watch videos. I'm like, man, those guys are so smooth, but they're also 6'6", 185 pounds, literally bred for jiu-jitsu.
Which I met them in Seattle because I went to a seminar there, and they're huge. I was like, man.
Oh, Henner and
yeah, both of them. Went and rolled with them over there at a God, what was that choke called? The Darce choke. They were doing a Darce seminar. So I went to it, but I realized I was really not knowing enough to really take a lot from that. But it was still a good experience. And yeah, they're big guys. They're like 6'4". They're tall. They're lanky. They're like made for it.
Yeah, right. Jelson, you said you were a purple belt, right?
Yes.
How long did it take you to get to your purple belt?
Well, with like work and like going TDY and stuff, like I got my blue belt in 2016, and then I just got my purple belt just last November.
Hey.
Yeah. So I mean, but that's the whole like being consistent with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I try to train 3 or 4 times a week. So. I mean,
do you still box and kickbox too?
Not so much. We do have it on Mondays and Wednesdays. But I am kind of looking into other gyms out here in town on Fridays, right? Because actually my brother boxes over at Kiss Up Combat Sports.
Oh, okay.
And then
your brother?
Yes, and he's inviting me to like go out there.
Who's your brother?
Jelson.
Oh, okay. I didn't know he trained.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's doing boxing over there. So, and he obviously I had my last fight in June, right? And then I need to work on my stand-up. So, yeah, he offered
Yeah,
that.
you want to tell us a little bit? So for those that Jelson just kind of touched on it, Jelson just had his first amateur MMA fight. What was it, like 2 months ago? A month ago?
Yeah, June 22nd.
Yeah. Walk us through, what was it like leading up to it, and then what was it like to actually be in a full-blown trying to take each other's heads off?
I want it from like when you woke up in the morning. Like,
yeah, I'm talking
were
like
the nerves
like,
there.
yes.
From the day of,
like what happened?
Honestly, all right. So from the day of, right? I don't know. Like I woke up and then I made sure I didn't want to like eat too much and stuff. Just stay light and stuff. And then I was trying to like the fight started after 7 p.m. and I was trying to like maintain my whole diet as if it was like a training day. You know what I mean? So like I want to keep like eat the light in the morning, and then like leading up to it, eat a heavier lunch and stuff. And then by the time it's fight time, it's like I think I went to Subway, and then I didn't even finish a 6-inch tuna sandwich, right?
Yeah.
I didn't finish that, but yeah, no, I was never nervous. I was actually really excited for it because like it's like for me growing up, it's like one of those things that you fantasize about, right? Like you're doing martial arts, you watch UFC, you watch boxing, whatever it is, right? And it's like, man, I want to do that one time, and then actually just show it. You know what I mean? And then it takes a while to like get up to it. Like I'm 34 years old now, and then I finally freaking did it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And but I don't know, it's just a really good feeling. I was never nervous about the whole thing. I was
Really?
just excited to get into it. Just like, I mean, like win or lose doesn't matter, man. It was like to me, it was a really humbling, like, and I don't know, like emotional and like physical challenge for myself. You know what I mean? and actually get up there and fight in front of people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And Joe Rogan kind of talks about that because people will boo in UFC fights, and you got to think those guys are literally putting their lives on the line to entertain you, right? Obviously, they get paid for it, and they do it because they love the sport. But to be locked in a cage with another killer, and you both are trying to like do damage to each other, and for you to boo, it's kind of it's kind of like that's not really.
It's like you want to try it out. Come on,
right. By all means,
exactly.
jump in here. And a lot of people don't appreciate the nuances of MMA, like a good jiu-jitsu guy versus a good jiu-jitsu guy in an MMA fight, right? When people go to the ground, if they're not instantly choking each other out,
What's the most boring thing that you think people boo in MMA?
when they're grappling,
Grappling,
100%.
like clench work or
Sure.
something like
clench
that.
work, like groundwork.
That's
like,
my favorite. That's one of my favorite things.
Me
to
too.
See.
Yeah,
Now,
I
when
know,
They're, clenching,
right?
they're just fighting for underhooks, and it's just such small movements. And
right,
yeah,
and they're like
you
pressed
really
against
appreciate that
they're
stuff
pressed
when you-
against the cage, and like they're fighting for underhooks, and then one goes for like some sort of throw or something like that, and you watch them hook the inside leg to like counter. You're like, this is great. Like I'm loving this right now.
yeah.
But everyone else like, oh my god.
Well, I
this
used to
is
be
so
guilty
boring.
of that.
Yeah,
I think
well,
it's
now
just
we know.
For sure.
Yeah, now we
Absolutely.
know. But before that, I was like, fights are stand up, right? You
Yeah,
knock each other out.
exactly.
Like, that's it. And I was like, I didn't want to watch jiu-jitsu either. I was like, oh my god, will they stand up?
Yeah.
It's like
Let 'em
watching
punch each
football,
other.
right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to watch them pound the ball. They want to see the high offense passing.
Yeah.
And quick game. But
Yeah,
now
sure.
I'm like, I want to see them on the ground. I want to see what they're doing.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
now you know what
Now
they're
I
doing.
know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's easier to explain. I mean, granted, we're white belts, so we don't understand completely the concept of what's going on, but you can understand like slight nuances to what they're trying to accomplish now. You know what I mean? As to where someone that's never done anything like it before, they're like, oh my God, like they're literally just laying on top of each other. Like, no, he's not. He's literally trying to choke
That guy's
him
giving
right
it his all right there. on the bottom.
Like, how about I lay you on the ground right
he
now?
needs that
and then you
underhook
try-
before he finishes. it.
Yeah.
He's the wizard.
Get that
Wizard. You know what I mean? So that's cool, man. Though. So how long did the fight last? In
It went up to so it's a 3-minute rounds, right?
Mhm.
It went to a second round, and homeboy, he caught me, and
oh no.
yeah, I got TKO'd, so he got a uppercut on me, and then he followed up with a straight, and then I fell, and then he sat me on my ass, right? And then instantly it's like, no, I gotta get up, right? So that's my mindset,
Yeah.
right? So I got up, and then I kind of wish I would have stayed down.
To rest
You
those few
Yes.
definitely got him on the ground.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, it would have baited him in, right?
Mhm.
But he came in hot. He was still swinging. And then when I stood up, he caught me again, dropped me, dude. And then this time I'm against a fence, and he was just coming hot, just throwing bombs. And then I was trying to block whatever I could. And then, obviously he was still getting hits in. And then the ref came in. I was like,
man.
damn. But
Right.
whatever. Now I know. You know what I mean? And then actually, like, after watching the video, it's like, you learn from yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it's like my first time trying it, so
Absolutely.
Do you
whatever.
plan to fight again?
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
Cool.
Are you addicted like you were to jiu-jitsu when you first started?
I won't say addicted, but I'm like really excited for it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, obviously I lost. Like now I'm hungrier, right? So the first, or it's gonna be on September 21st.
Oh,
And
nice.
then so it'll be for the same promoter, and it'll be out there. So that fight, I went for 135 because I didn't care. I didn't want to try to cut weight. I just wanted to fight as is, walking around. And on weigh-ins, it's like I weighed at 128. The guy was 135. I looked at him, I was like, man, you're kind of skinny for your height, right?
Yeah.
And then the day of, god damn, this homeboy bulked up, man. He bulked up, yeah. So, but this next fight, I don't know who he is, but he's got the same record as me, right? 0-1. I don't know what his experience is, but he's calling me out, man.
So you are going to be
He's already
125.
calling
You know his
out.
name?
He's calling me out, yeah, and
Oh,
he
I'd be
can't. I
stalking.
told him, we tried to get him to go at 125, and then it seems like he can't because he walks around at like 115 or so, and then so we're gonna try to meet at 120, and then I think I can make that 120 real easy. So
Yeah. I mean, Joseph, I'm not gonna lie to you.
yeah,
It doesn't look like you have much to lose.
yeah, I don't, dude.
You don't have a dad bod like
When
John
you're
and I.
when you're lighter in weight already walking around, it's
Yeah.
not the same being 185 and then cutting down to 170.
Yeah,
which
that's true. That's
Sounds
true.
tough to me already.
I'm 172, and I'm trying to get to 164 by November, and I don't know if that'll be attainable.
Well, see, for that, man, like let's see, like a couple years ago, one of our old teammates was just telling me like when he competes, like he doesn't care about cutting the weight
Really?
because he doesn't want to stress himself.
That's-
And I
yeah,
thought that was
smart.
so smart because like if you're just gonna go compete and you're not getting paid for it, whatever, you just want to go experience it for yourself.
Yeah.
Whatever, just go as is and then stay at that weight. And that's what I've been doing. So like for me, it's like between 127 and 141 with a gi on, right? That's a big like gap right there.
Right.
And I'm always like walking around 130, 132. So I'll just stay as is, train as is, and then compete as is.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. So Colby Covington, we were talking about him earlier, how he just set the record for the most attempted strikes in a single UFC
Every
fight.
2 seconds.
Every 2
Yeah.
seconds was throwing a punch, right? And someone asked him during an interview, they're like, how much weight do you cut for your fights? And obviously Colby Covington being the trash talker that he's like, I don't cut weight. This is my body weight. He's like, I don't cut any weight. These other guys are scared to fight in their natural weight. He's like, this is my natural weight. I am a welterweight. I walk around as a welterweight. And I was like, you a brave man, because Darren Till is a big dude.
He is, man. He is.
And he cuts all the way down to welterweight. That
Now,
guy.
I understand that in like Japan, their MMA fighters don't cut.
Yeah,
a lot of
they
weight.
get hydration tests and stuff.
Okay,
I think like is it one FC? They do hydration tests during your camp to make sure that you're not cutting too much water to prevent you. Yeah, because Max Hollowell, when he was gonna fight, I forgot who it was. They had to call the fight because Max Hollowell, from his weight cut, started showing signs of mental instability, like his body was shutting down on him and stuff like that, right? And so he was showing signs of what they called like concussion, right? He's just not recognizing he's talking to people and whatnot. And they say it's because of his weight cuts, because he does such a vicious weight cut every single time, because he fights at 155, Max Hollowell, and then he walks around, they say, is like 185, 175. So he has a huge weight cut. So
that's a lot.
And 1FC, they don't allow you to weight cut. If you're dehydrated when they test you, then boop, done. You're not making the fight. Yep. You're not, there's no. Yeah. So
Isn't the UFC
that's
doing
kinda
something
cool.
like that now?
they're talking about doing it, which I recommend. I agree
It would
with.
be good.
I agree with, because you have these guys like a Darren Till, who is a massive man cutting down to a welterweight, and then he walks on the scale looking like he's about to die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like these guys. I don't know if you guys ever watched the video of like Cyborg, how she cuts weight. She's in a sauna suit underneath heated blankets.
Oh, and it's harder for women too,
Yeah,
with the way that they carry their
Mhm.
fat.
Exactly, right? And then they also have fat in areas guys don't, and like some fat they just really can't lose because of just the way their body is,
Yeah.
right? So watching her do a weight cut to make weight, I'm like, how is this she's literally crying in pain to make weight. And then she has to be assisted onto the stage to step on the scale and assisted off. How are you going to allow someone to cut that much weight and then say, oh, yeah, you're good to fight tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
oh, yeah, just go rehydrate. It's okay. Like, no, that could be serious damage to your liver, your kidneys, all kinds of stuff. It puts so much stress on your heart and your just body in general. I agree with the 1FC for hydration test and making sure that guys aren't cutting too much weight, because you're just... In the long run, it's a smart business choice because your fighters are going to be healthier longer, right? You're going to get more out of them. If people are always cutting massive amounts of weight, it just takes longevity away from your body, and you're more likely to just
Do they
not
weigh in day
good.
before also?
I think they weigh in day before, yeah.
Yeah.
So you could still gain, a pound or two,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 10, like some people. Cody, our coach, if you guys listen to that episode, he talks about he weighed in. Cody walks around 220. 215, and he's 6'5".
He's a
Big
dude.
boy.
He's a
Damn.
big dude, right?
Yeah.
Purple belt. The guy is like legit.
Owns me every time we roll.
I don't
It's
even
not
think.
even-
I don't
it's
even
okay.
think
Not
I've
even.
ever
Just
like
massacred.
even for a second made him think he was in trouble. I grabbed his wrist one time and went for a wrist lock, and I was tapping. I don't understand.
I
how.
rolled with your coach, and I couldn't get him off me.
Dude,
So,
it's nuts.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nuts, right?
Remember when I told you this last time we rolled? I felt like I had a victory because I made him think for a split second.
He's like,
I trapped one.
That was
wrist,
good.
I
That
trapped
was good.
one wrist in my left knee, in my left leg, and then I grabbed his right wrist and I locked it up, and I sunk real tight till it took up all his space, so he couldn't use any of those long arms and legs.
Yeah.
And he had to stop for a second and think about like, man, he's got me all bound up.
Yeah.
I mean, he still choked me out in like 5 seconds, but it was like the first time I even got him to pause.
right,
I was
right.
like, man.
He's like, obviously, if you ever meet him, he's a massive man. And he cut all the way down to 185 for a
From
fight.
220?
From 220 to 185.
MMA or kickboxing?
MMA.
Okay.
MMA.
It's all on YouTube. You can watch.
Yeah,
it.
he won his fights. He was
undefeated.
Yep.
Yep.
Undefeated in jiu-jitsu and in MMA.
How many fights?
8.
Oh,
8-0.
cool. Awesome.
Yeah, so
Dang,
awesome.
man.
he's a legit dude. But he talks about after he weighed in at 185, they were leaving the arena. And this is him as an amateur, not even getting paid to do this yet, right? He's leaving the arena after weighing in, and one of our coaches, he was a corpsman in the Navy, he was putting an IV in Cody in the car
Dang.
to rehydrate him because he was such a hard weight cut for him. And I'm like thinking in my
That's
head.
scary, man.
Exactly.
Is that really what you
right?
want to do?
Exactly,
I'm
right?
with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I could never imagine taking something to that serious to the point where I'm kind of putting my life on the line for it. You know what I mean? Unless it's like my family or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't imagine a recreational thing. Like, you know what? I'm just going to almost die today for this.
Better
Like,
be a
that's-
really big
right,
paycheck.
Right. I don't even, I tap early because I'm afraid to get choked out.
You know, it seems like
that's
it's
it.
so hard to have that kind of discipline to do things
Absolutely.
like that. But you know, I remember in like high school, you remember like guys that wrestle, just high school wrestling.
Yeah.
Those guys did some crazy things to make weight.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and putting on the suits
Yep.
and like sour candy and just spitting.
I was
over
literally
over.
just about to say that.
Yep.
Yeah,
A couple die every year from it.
Oh my
It's
god,
true.
yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Like high school wrestlers, college wrestlers, like they die
Yep.
because
in sauna suits, with
Mhm.
in the sauna, cutting weight.
I wrestled my freshman year for a semester, and watching these guys cut weight, it'd be the day of, right? I think we weighed in the morning of, or the day before. I don't really
I
remember.
think usually for most that I've seen, it's the day of.
Yeah, it's the day of. It's a couple hours
The day of the-
before,
Mhm.
and so there was guys literally in sauna suits running around with candy in their mouth, spitting in toilets, doing whatever they can to cut every little bit of weight they could, taking the sauna suit off, walking, putting their onesie on, and someone's gonna be like, "Onesie? That's real cool, bro." But putting it on and then going and stepping on the scale, and then that boom. And then I was like, nope, never in a million years I would ever.
It's miserable.
It's miserable.
Yeah, dude. For
Dude,
real.
people cutting weight, like Lordell cut weight. She did bodybuilding, my fiance, and watching her cut weight. Lordell walks around 150, 145 is her natural body weight. And she's a very lean woman as it is, right? On show day, she weighs in about 123, 125. And Lordell
And
is
that's
it's
a lot.
hard. It
Mhm.
is super hard
Those
on her.
those are the days you couldn't eat in front of her, right?
Yeah, those were the days where I'm not even
For real.
joking. Like I'm not. I couldn't
Get out.
She
I
cranky.
I couldn't eat in front of her. I told her this. I was like, I could not. There was probably about 3-4 month period where I would not eat at home because every time I ate in front of her, there was a comment made. There was hostility towards me.
Oh, I bet, man.
Yeah. So right because she was in.
Eat that cheeseburger fries right now.
How you like that Gatorade? Why are you so mad?
Did she pick out like after she was done?
Yeah, she did. Her
Oh, man.
first show she did. She's done 3 shows. She's won both of them. But the first show she did, it was. I told her afterwards, and this is relating to weight cutting in jiu-jitsu or MMA or whatever it is, right? I told her afterwards, and she'll listen to this later because she listens to the podcast. But I straight up, I was like, if we ever go through something like that again, I won't be there at the end. Like it was that bad. Like waking up in the morning, there's hostility throughout the entire day, right? Because when you get to that point of a caloric deficit and you're starving yourself and you're cutting weight,
Your brain's probably
your
not
brain
even
is
right.
yeah, exactly. Your brain is like completely somewhere else,
Right.
You're in survival mode for weeks. You know what I mean? Like weeks. This is going on. And all she had to do was go, not to downplay what she had to do, but all she had to do was go on stage and kind of flex, right?
But those muscles need to show.
But the muscles
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
show, right?
Mhm.
And to think she did that for 15 minutes of flexing
Mhm.
and only imagine going into an MMA fight and going through that severe of a thing and knowing now how big of a mental breakdown it was for her. I couldn't that's why they're professionals. That is
Yeah.
why they are professionals,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely.
Because they keep their head in the game through the entire thing,
Mm-hmm.
and you know they're not 100% the next day. No way in hell are they 100% the next day. But they're in there, and they're following their game plan. They're doing everything that they said they were gonna, and they're smart, you know, and nope, no thank you. To have that dedication, no.
So you guys have neither of you have competed.
Nope.
No. We've only been doing jiu-jitsu since last May.
Oh, okay.
I think it's been I don't know, probably a solid year for me.
And-
a little bit more for you.
Yeah.
John, you said you were like against the idea.
I was
at
until
first
I went and watched it.
Okay.
Because I wasn't sure. Like, I like to know what I'm getting into. And, like, you know, I went and Googled it and everything. But you watch some crazy stuff. And I'm like, I ain't doing that. Like, I'm older, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not trying to get broke. Like,
Yeah.
And so I went and watched the last competition. And I was like, well, this isn't bad. Like,
Yeah.
this is no different than when I go visit a gym and I'm rolling with people I don't know.
Sure.
Exactly.
So-
Yeah,
Absolutely.
man.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, like, this isn't too bad. And a bunch of our guys placed. They got medals. I was like, you know, I roll with these guys every day. So,
What is it? Is it injury that's keeping you, or
Well,
that
you know-
was keeping you from doing it?
well, that
or?
first year I had a lot going on. I had a stroke. I had surgeries. I had surgeries
Oh.
in both legs. You know, so it's like
Oh, geez.
that kind of stuff. I was like, you know, I don't want to go get injured in a competition if they're going that hard. Like the guys in the gym know me, so they know what I went through. So they, like, actually when me and you rolled, that was my first roll when you visited our gym since I had the surgery.
And you beat the crap out of
So
him.
I did not beat the crap out
No,
of
he
you.
did not. But I
Thank
actually, I
you.
told him, I was like,
Thank
man,
you.
I told him, I said, man, I felt kind of bad rolling with Chris because that was my first time since the surgery, and
How did I roll with you?
You were great.
Yeah.
I felt bad because I knew I could normally do better, but I was just so off my game, and it was the first time.
Chris is
And my
like, this is a white belt.
My legs were still sore from them going in my arteries, so I didn't have the flexibility
Yeah.
in my legs.
I
So-
usually run away
No.
if I roll with somebody that I don't know. And
Really?
Yeah.
which
yeah,
normally
usually.
throws me off.
You,
even
I did
more.
not.
Yeah, no,
I
you
did
went-
not.
you went
no,
all
you.
in.
I thought.
No.
I thought. I mean, with anybody that I roll with, I vary my objective, and how do I say this? You look very competitive, and you talked about
Right. So you were like, I got to tap this dude
you,
quick.
when, like talking to you guys, you guys seem to have like different like objectives and stuff like that, and I do remember you saying that you had like surgery and stuff like that when I rolled with you, and rolling with you and then trying to kick the shit out of you, just from any perspective that I could think of would not have been
Right.
No,
you
it
know,
was
like the
fine.
way to do
Yeah.
it, you know.
Yeah.
Versus you, like I feel like Travis, if I rolled with you, I'd feel like you would probably like it more if I tried a little bit harder.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I went to, we talked about this on the episode right after I dropped in at your school. I was like, man, these black belts are kicking my butt, man. Like I got knee barred like 14 times. I don't even know how to get out of a knee
You
bar.
roll with Matt.
Yeah, I roll with Matt, and then Matt gets me in like 6 knee bars,
love
and then
Matt.
Is that the one that's all cut up?
Yeah, the old school, looking Marine.
old school looking Marines. How I
Yeah.
describe him, and
And
then you
then-
see
and
him, and you're like, oh yeah, old school
Yeah,
looking
absolutely.
Marine.
Now I'm like, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
For the record, I like 100% now. I'm good to go.
Okay,
so
cool.
I like hard rolls, and
Yeah.
that's why I really like rolling with Travis because me and him go at it.
Yeah, like
And I'm like,
like
it's
the-
fantastic. But that first one with you, I was definitely not all the way there yet.
I was in your
And I was like,
guys'
ugh.
gym, and
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
didn't know. I recognized a few people, but I've trained at a handful of gyms, and it's just I haven't figured out how to conduct myself when I go to visit.
yeah.
And
Well, there's
and-
some etiquette, you know what I mean? It's like
Mhm,
you don't want to be
absolutely.
an
Yeah,
asshole.
if
going
we
to
want to touch,
anybody's
I would
gym.
like to touch on that real quick because there's a lot of white belts out there. Sorry to interrupt, but
Go ahead, man.
but-
No worries.
I would really like to get your guys' perspective on that because when I dropped in your gym, not to say that I didn't try, right? But I definitely wouldn't have tried as hard as I would have if I was at my school,
Absolutely.
right?
Mhm.
Like I put myself in bad positions. I didn't push as hard as I did because I don't want to go to someone's school, drop in for my first time, and there's like, why is this dude trying to take everyone's freaking head off? You know what I mean? Like that's not who I am. So what is your guys'
Well,
perspective
I mean,
on
you
it?
just called it. You called it a school, right?
Right.
So what do you do in a school?
You show respect, right? Like,
Well, you learn.
Yeah, you learn. Yeah, right.
So I mean, what are you trying to learn? You're trying to learn how to grapple,
Right.
Not necessarily just show up, try and prove yourself, and kick
Right.
everyone's ass. You know.
Mhm.
So I mean, even when I go and roll at my gym, I don't necessarily try and kick everyone's butt,
Yeah.
or they don't try and kick my butt, sometimes it's just throwing something out there, trying stuff you're not good at,
Yeah.
or, exploring and things like that. So, that's the right way to look at it, I think, go in there and especially like if you want to come back, you got to think about the impression that you leave, and so many times people come in and try and prove themselves and maybe they are good and maybe they do kick everyone's butt
But what did you really take away from it? That's the honest thing,
yeah.
right? Like, are you leaving the school like, my coach is better than theirs? Like, well, man, and what are you earning from that? You know what I mean? We have I relate a lot of jiu-jitsu to CrossFit because in CrossFit we have a lot of common themes, right? Like we have a lot of people drop in at our gym. It's basically force meeting force kind of thing, right? We have a barbell instead of a person, and you're trying to control that barbell to the best of your ability instead of the person, right? There's a lot of strength in it, a lot of cardio. You're pushing yourself. There's a lot of common themes in the two. So when I talk about jiu-jitsu, a lot of my ideas and a lot of my knowledge comes from being a CrossFit coach for 5 years now, right? And being in the sport and in love with CrossFit for years. Right. And one thing that we have a lot is we'll have people drop into our gym and try to just completely destroy everyone in the workout in a sense of just beat everyone no matter what it takes, hammer themselves and do the best they can and kind of prove themselves. Right. I'm doing air quotes right now for you guys listening. And
he did do air quotes.
Yeah, I did. I literally did air quotes. But to me, it's like, what are you taking away from that? Like, why can't you just come have fun and enjoy the community, right? So as a coach, when I go somewhere, I'm trying to meet people. I'm trying to interact with people. I'm trying to have a good time with people because one, I'm a people person and I like people, right? So if I come off as a jerk, people aren't going to like me, and I'm not going to be welcomed back the next time. You know what I mean?
For
sure. So, Jelson, give us your little take on it. Do you guys have a lot of people that drop in? Because you guys are kind of a bigger school, right?
Yeah.
So,
so like with me, man, like when new people come in, it's like we try to give them we try to make them feel as welcome as possible. You know what I mean? I mean, kind of like what we're talking about right now. It's like you don't ever want to be the asshole going to a school because you're trying to learn, right? You're trying to learn, and but like when people, I think, if they don't have the experience of just training in general, right, or consistently, if they're new to it, like of course they'll come to your gym and then they know it's a sport for competitiveness, right? It's grappling. It's trying to kill each other, really, right?
Yeah.
And then and I think naturally they don't want to lose, right? So maybe they come off hard, and that you want to prove that they could hang with this new sport they're trying out or whatever. At least that's how I see it,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And I don't know. It's like I don't know. Like
Travis is busting out.
What do you think about asking first? So that's the thing I've been doing lately is when I'm rolling with someone or we're sparring, I ask because I like now
ask them what.
Like, hey, how hard do you want to go? Like,
okay. I think that's appropriate, man.
Yeah, because I now I'm like I really want to test myself, and if someone's really taking it easy on me, I don't learn well that way. But if you like, tap me or choke me out 5 times in that 5 minutes, I learn a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's just the way I'm at now. Like, I need you to go harder on me so I learn.
Think in your gym, you'll have like, after a while, you'll have it like established. Like you'll figure out who you can beat.
Yep.
And who can beat you.
Yep.
And you'll figure out who is there to train casually for self-defense to be fit, and who wants to be competitive, and who likes rolling a certain way, and that's just like the dynamic that you get. You'll with the competitive guys, go hard.
Yeah.
Get them.
Each person's different that you roll
for it.
with, man. Like it really
different
is like
objectives for different people. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree with that.
For most gyms, it probably depends on the gym that you go to too. Like if we talk about like Autos or something like that. Probably most of those roles will be very competitive roles. I don't know. My experience there, they all felt competitive to me, but those guys are so good.
Yeah. Yeah. We talk about that too. To mention Autos because I'm going to San Diego later in the year John, you're literally
Is it a
messing
twist
everything up right now.
Is it a
Yeah.
twist up? I felt bad like, is it a twist up?
Is it a twist up? No, it's a pop. We're popping the heinies right now.
I don't. How do I do that? Can I like? Do I need to like move away to like drink?
No,
can
you can
you
drink
guys
right
hear
to
me
the microphone.
breathe?
No,
Like,
you're
No, all I need you to do is just put the microphone a little bit closer to your face.
This is to me.
He's
I
eating
feel
it,
like
Travis.
I'm so
Good lord,
close.
he's on it. He's good. Travis is all about like you need to
How do
eat the
you-
mic. All right, I'm
how do
on
you-
it.
how do you do
My
that?
mustache is tickling the microphone. Am I close enough?
Yeah, it sounds beautiful to me. But how do you, John? This we're gonna pause for a second from the conversation. I need John to open my beer and show me how to use this thing.
let me try this before because this is John's bottle opener.
This is John's
so
bottle
I
opener.
Figure this out before.
Is it?
So one thing I've noticed from other people that even visit our gym and we talk is
Is it really that way? Is that how you do it?
yeah. Are you guys
Bro, I
serious
didn't
right
know
now?
that. I would have done that.
I'm afraid to do it because I broke a glass earlier before
He
this
did.
podcast.
Yeah,
was.
Lordell, don't listen
So
to that.
at our gym, they let some of us do wrist locks, right, at where we're at right now. But I've had some people visit our gym and they're like, "Well, you can't do wrist locks at your level yet." And I'm like, "Well, actually, they told us we can try them here." But what I do now before I roll with someone is I ask if it's okay to try wrist locks.
When people. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
But I don't know if that's different at at other schools. Once you guys go over it in the class, is everyone allowed to try it, or do you set like, "Hey, I only want some of you to try it and some not"?
So like for us, like brand new students or people that we're not familiar with, we tell them straight up like what you can and can't do.
Do you?
You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's
But if you
smart.
covered
That's
it in
smart.
class, or then they okay to do it?
Yeah, and like say for like ankle locks and stuff like that, like for us, like you have to be at least a blue belt. You know what I mean?
For
'Cause,
ankle,
like,
straight
'cause,
ankle
like,
locks?
yeah, because like for
Really?
like, your feet and stuff, it's like
For
it's
straight
like,
ankle locks.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like we'll train it, but then like we don't have you guys like go all out and try it out all the time. And stuff,
Yeah,
right.
sure.
You know what I mean? It's like I get to know the knowledge and know how to defend from it and stuff. But then it's
Yeah.
like during our roles, like we kind of like if you know what you're doing, and then
Mhm.
like you have the conversation with your training partner, then go for it, right?
I've
Just to
noticed
kind of keep
that.
everybody safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
like
Some
we're
places
trying to
I
learn-
go, they're like, and I'm like, oh shit. Well, now I'm
Yeah.
not sure what I can try and what I can't.
And then
Yeah.
even with knee bars too, man. Like
white belts.
yeah, I'm
You
so,
what?
I heel hook white belts.
I know you do.
You
Yeah.
knee bar white belts too.
I do. Yeah.
You're gonna blow someone's.
You need
knee
the
out.
practice.
I don't. Did I blow your knee out?
No, you didn't know.
Did I,
'cause I
knee
knew
bar? I
how
don't
to
even know
tap.
if I did. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a safety thing. Obviously, it's
Mhm.
the issue, right?
Right,
That's
right.
probably why you guys have that discussion and
Yeah.
do it that way. And I vary it. You know, like if it's somebody who's not athletic,
hmm
we'll say no.
or they don't have
You
like
know,
that
or
discipline
I'll
and stuff.
really
Yeah,
wanna
if they
go.
crank on
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
if they're very
That's probably the more
anxious.
dangerous person is like the one that like is very like spazzy or
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, explosive but
Yep.
not very controlled. That's probably like your biggest issue, and it's a conversation, you know, and people can handle it different ways. But
hmm
Right. A lot of people, it's kind of a touchy subject when you tell people what they can and can't do, right? When it comes to combat sports, because a lot of people are like, what do you mean I can't do that? You let them do that? I'm like, well, we trust them.
Yeah.
Like, if it comes down to it, we trust them, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we not saying we don't trust you, but we don't trust you. So
Well, it's just an interesting topic because, we try to go to different schools and everything.
Yeah.
And, like, for me, like, a big part of my game is the wrist locks. Travis will tell you, like, I use a lot of them because
Mhm.
it helps keep
Oh, they're
people off
great.
of me,
They're
especially
great.
when they're bigger than me. They're 220, 230, and I'm rolling
Yep.
with them. Like,
they're
it's-
underutilized for sure.
yeah,
They're
for sure,
they're
man.
But I've talked to some
everywhere.
people, and they're like, that's
Oh, and
dirty.
they are everywhere.
They're
Who
like,
said that?
that's
I did,
dirty.
but you-
You can't do that. And I'm like, shit, that's like half my game.
dirty is an unacceptable word to me. Dirty.
Yeah.
I mean, like
it's like heel hooks back
I'm telling
in the
you,
day
I've
were-
heard it. They're
were
like, yeah,
dirty,
no.
right? Like,
Yeah.
and then Dean Listener said, why would you ignore 50% of the body, right? And then people were like,
Mhm.
that's a great point. Why would you ignore 50% of the
Joe
body?
Danaher. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So
Yeah.
I love wrist locks, man. I try to get those everywhere I can now.
They're
I almost
great.
got Cody with a wrist lock.
I
one
try.
time.
I'm like, no, stop. That's
Yeah.
like it's what I use. It's like a neutralizer because
Yeah.
a lot of the guys in our gym are big and they're strong, and it's like how I get them to respect like what they're doing and,
Yeah.
and make them wary.
I think Cody went in for like a collar grab or something one time, and I just like grabbed his elbow and grabbed his
No,
wrist and
pulled
went
it
for
in.
it and went for it, and you'll see if you ever come to our school. Cody's a massive man. He just pulled his arm away from me, and I was like, I almost got you. He's like, that was a close one. I was like, oh, dang it, man.
Who I forget the guy's name. This is not good for a podcast, but is it? I think it was like Cody McKenzie, I believe the guy's name was. He was a Ultimate Fighter competitor. Season 5 or less. He competed next to me in a tournament, and he lost via wrist lock.
Did he?
Dang.
And it was like 10 seconds. He grabbed the guy's gi, standing up.
Oh, our
The
professor said
guy grabbed his elbow and just pulled it toward his chest, tapped.
Yep.
Oh, just so beautiful. Like, so,
Yeah,
so
yes.
fast
It's
and
like a
over.
great thing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like
I know,
simplicity,
I mean,
man.
like, yeah.
Like the sweet simplicity.
Like,
dude.
why would
That's
you-
the
Yeah.
best thing.
Why would
man.
why would you ignore that? You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
it's a legitimate tap, you know?
So our the black belt that we're under is
Ivan Sakamoto.
Ivan Sakamoto, right? So he did a seminar with us when he came here, and one of the things he taught was wrist locks.
Mm-hmm.
And the same exact thing. He's like, say he has really broken English, right? But he's like, say you're going against a judo guy and he won't let go of your collar. Okay, just wrist lock him, right? And then he showed us that same exact thing. Say they're deep in their collar, right? Their elbows bent. Just grab the elbow, boom, wrist lock. And one thing I love, I talked about this last episode. One thing I absolutely love doing to people now, and you have to go super slow because once their weight gets
Is that the
behind
one you
it-
called me on a few weeks ago?
No, I got
Oh.
peed on it. Is breaking the guard, right? When people put their hands on your hips. When people put their hands, sorry, I just dropped my microphone. When people put their hands on your hips, right? What I like to do is I like to flare their elbows, right? Or I'll grab one elbow and flare the elbow towards me.
Like they're in your guard.
Yeah, they're in my guard, right? And so their hands on my hips, and I flare their elbows, and it traps their hand, and I just pull it forward and boom, wrist lock.
Yep.
Dude, I love that. I absolutely love
And you
that.
break their posture down.
And I break their posture, right? So there's like little other, even if they get their hand free, but now I have an elbow, I can grab the head, and I broke their posture, right? Like that's one of my favorite things to do. And
Hey, first tap I got you with was a wrist lock.
John got me, the first tap he ever got me in was in Japan, and I don't remember how this happened.
After he's got me like 100 times, I'm like fishing anything, something.
John's
Give me
like,
some dignity.
just please help me. Help me, jujitsu gods. Just give me something. Right? And we're rolling, and I don't remember what I was doing, but he got my arm in between his legs, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh crap, I can't get this out. And then he grabs my wrist. I was like, oh crap, I can't get this
Same
out.
thing. Like you're in his guard and he's flaring
I'm
out
in
your
his
elbows.
side guard.
I try to trap people's arms
No.
in my leg.
Okay.
I'm on his side, and he passed my hand between his legs, and then all of a sudden I'm getting wrist locked, and I'm like tapping on John. I'm like tap 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 tap.
I'm
This
like,
hurts. Get off.
That's the verbal tap 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 tap.
Yeah, I'm like tap 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 tap. I'm like tapping him, saying it. He's like, "You okay?" I was like, "I'm tapping." I look at him. I'm like, "I'm literally tapping right now." I was like, "You got me. I can't get out of that." And he's like, "Oh, okay, that's awesome." And then I think that was the same role that he got me 2 times, or it was the same week.
Yeah.
He got me another time because we watched. You guys know who Roy Dean is? Roy Harris.
Yes.
Roy Harris. Yep. So Roy Harris has a. We subscribe to Roy Dean TV. He's a 3rd degree black belt.
He's the
Amazing.
one. He does tests.
Yeah,
Yes,
he does the test
yep.
for every belt, every stripe.
His
Right?
videos have helped me a ton.
He's amazing. If you haven't looked him up, look him up. Right. But Roy Harris is his black belt, who's a 3rd degree, 4th degree black belt also, and he had a pressure seminar put on Roy Dean's his subscription
It's
TV
Apple
thing.
TV.
Yeah,
It's
it's like an
through
Apple
Apple.
TV thing, right?
Yeah.
And so one thing that they talk about was hooking the head under the head and then applying pressure. And if you do it just right, it's all the pressure. Their head's not even on the mat. It's literally the blade of your arm on the back
From
of their
side
neck.
control,
From
you're saying?
side
Okay.
control, right? So
Okay.
yeah, from side
Yeah,
control,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And then you hook under the armpit, kind of grab lat, and then you could just bring them in nice and close.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And the pressure is just ridiculous. And
It is.
John got me in just the pressure one day. Like there was so much pressure on the back of my neck, I couldn't even move. I was like, I couldn't move my legs. I was scared to move because there was so much pressure. And I was like, I'm tapping. I'm like whispering in his ear, tap,
I was like, thank God we got this on video.
tap. But that was a good one too.
What do you guys think about testing for belts?
I'm a nervous wreck because if they actually do like a test for the belt, I'm probably going to do horrible. Like, I'm
that
just
good or
not
bad?
well at testing. I don't know.
I'd
I'd rather just roll and just roll and test me that way and go through rolls or watch me roll or something like that. But if it's like where they're going to yell some stuff out and I got to do it in a roll, I'll probably just draw blanks.
I mean, so you're coming at it from an angle of like, if I'm gonna test for a belt, but like, what do you think of it from the
I don't know.
overall? Like, is it the right way to do it? Or
I
don't know.
I feel like for every belt, there is a minimum skill set you need in order to advance the next belt, right? Like, no matter who you are, what belt it is, right? The reason you get stripes is because you're advancing, right?
mm-hmm.
And because you're showing that you know the stuff, right? So I go back and forth with it because obviously if I am a 4-stripe whatever, whether it's a white belt, blue belt, purple belt, I've shown you over time that I understand, what it takes to be the next belt level, I guess you could say.
Okay.
I agree with it in that sense, but I also agree with testing because put it on the line, show them. I like how Roy Dean does it, how you have to demonstrate. There's the demonstration part, right, of showing certain moves that at your level is a higher skill level than, your current belt, right? So if you're going from blue to purple, there's certain things at a purple belt that you need to know to be a purple belt. And making sure that you know those things in order to advance to purple belt is, to me, not a bad thing, right? It's like checking you and making sure that you're not wrong, right?
Jelson's nodding his head. Do you?
I agree with it, man. I think
Yeah.
I think
think
testing
testing's
is
good?
important, man.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, for me too, like I like to get called out if I know how to do a certain move, and it's like
Right.
I'm so horrible at like the names of moves or
That's
Yeah,
really
you know
what
I mean?
gets me. I'm
and,
like,
and it's like and like we have like a curriculum too, so it's like
You guys do.
Oh, you do?
and it's like
That's cool.
and my dumbass is like I don't follow enough on it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think
interesting.
where I'm at right now is because like I'm just consistently training all the time. And I'm showing that I know how to do the moves, right? It's just but just the names for them, dude. Like I draw a blank. Like
that's
you were
what I'm saying.
John,
If they
you know what
called
I
out
mean?
a name, I might not register it.
Yeah.
And like I think I'm fine rolling, and I guess I put all my trust in the instructor to just observe and
Yes.
figure out if I need it or
Yeah,
not.
and
I don't
that's-
want to have to worry about
Yeah.
you yelling stuff at me and me trying to do it.
But then
It's
say,
just, like,
but like outside of your instructor, if like he's not there or she's not there or whatever, and then you and your friend are rolling, and then they ask you, how do you do this move? It's like, what is that move? You got to know what it is,
Yeah.
right? Especially if you're like more experienced than them.
yeah,
Right.
I understand that.
So I think like being tested for it, I think is important, man. Like I'm all for it.
Okay, so like if you're a blue, did you test for your purple belt?
I did not. I think it was just like just consistency, man.
Yeah.
And then like knowing how to do certain moves when it's needed. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
doing the rolls and then like rolling with the black belts and stuff. And everybody else, they just know where I'm at. You know what I mean? But every once in a while when we go over like curriculum and stuff, like I forget.
It's tough.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is.
Because
There's
like
so much.
because like you really do have to study it, man.
Well,
Yeah,
like
you know what I mean?
it's interesting, like because it's good and bad, right?
Right.
Because
That's what I was trying to
if you have a curriculum and you have to test for a blue belt,
Mhm.
like okay, I'm a white belt, and I got to test. Well, I'm just gonna study the stuff I need to do for the test. I'm gonna ignore everything else.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just gonna learn what I technically need to know to
Mhm.
demonstrate to go and do that. So I could like there's a problem with it. And then, I think of if you're like a good guitar player or like a musician or I used to skateboard, so I use skateboard.
Yeah, baby, that's me too.
Right. Okay, you used to skateboard. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So this will be really easy. So like, how did you determine someone was a good skateboarder?
Kind of watching them skate, and then
Yeah.
the tricks
That's
that
what
they
I'm
did.
saying. Just
But,
watch it tell me.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like you have like guys that are really good at like rails, or
Yeah,
guys that are really good
yeah.
at stairs, or
Right.
guys that are
Flat
really good at
ground,
flat, or
yeah.
guys that are really good at ledges. Like you could have, like how do you belt up somebody if like let's say we
They're
gave
kind of a
belts,
specialist kind of thing.
yeah, like if you're
Ah,
if
right.
you're, if we gave belts for like skateboarding or something like that, it'd be really dumb. But
not suggesting that,
but like, would you have to like go and like kickflip an 8 stair to get your
your next
purple belt or whatever
Yeah.
it is that you
Yeah.
would do? I mean, not every good skateboarder could do that, even though they could just destroy like
And
a half pipe or
The,
something.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say
yeah.
the best thing I could think of, right?
And I just do devil's advocate.
No,
Just-
no,
I don't,
right,
I don't
right.
know that I disagree or agree.
No, and it's good to hear like a black belt, right? Because you've gone through all of it, right? And kind of touching on the skateboard analogy, right? Like you have Bob Burnquist, arguably one of the best vert skaters in the world.
We're probably the same generation if you're
Yeah.
saying that guy's
Yeah,
name.
so Bob, if you guys don't know who Bob Burnquist is, you're messing up. Just throwing that out there. Right? Bob Burnquist, one of the best vert skaters in the world, right?
Okay.
And then We have Rodney Mullen, who is arguably the best flat ground skater in the world, right? Seeing Rodney Mullen, just because Rodney Mullen doesn't skate vert doesn't mean he's not one of the best skaters in the world.
Terrible at vert.
Probably cannot hold his own in any vert higher than 4 or 5 feet, right?
Yeah.
Bob Bergquist can probably do a 360 flip on the flat ground, but doing what Rodney Mullen does, right? But they're still, I would still rank them at the same skill level.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
For their like specialty, I guess you would say.
Black belts or whatever you
right.
If we would have it that way.
Yeah, exactly. So like they're both black belts of skateboarding, and I would rank them exactly the same, right? In skill level. It's just one likes doing this, one likes doing
styles,
it's just different. Perfect. That's the best way to put it. Different styles. So I see where you're coming at with like, well, if there's a curriculum, what if that's not their style? What if they don't like doing that?
I'm not even going to show up if they tell me I need to show up to test for a blue belt.
Yeah.
If they were like, yeah, show up, we're going to test you, I'm probably not even going to show up.
I'm
not even joking.
And
I just read an article about a white belt in Hawaii or something like that. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 10 years. Every time he knows there's a promotion and they test for it, he doesn't show up. And it's funny because you'll have higher belts show up, they roll with him, he's tapping them, and they're like, how the hell is this white? Because he's been a white belt for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's not showing up because he's just not, that's not what he's doing.
Yeah.
And what I've learned at this point so far into this journey is it really doesn't matter what your belt level is.
Mm-hmm.
It just matters on how well you're learning and how much you're practicing and how much you're progressing. And then, you can hang with whoever you're hanging with, but like, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't always say how good you are.
I would say it absolutely does not necessarily mean how good you are.
Yeah, like that's what I'm learning. Like you just putting in the
such a random
time and showing up and putting in the effort. Like it doesn't matter really what your belt level is. I mean, obviously a black belt's put in everything. They got it. Like they're there. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like a white belt. Maybe they don't want to show up to test. They're there for what they're there for and for the learning. And maybe they're just not about the testing. But
and, we're all in an area with a lot of Navy. Those guys will travel a lot. So you go and you travel to Japan or another station or something like that, we'll say, and you're not going to show up to a gym and that instructor is not going to just give you a blue belt because you show up and just rough up all his white belts or something.
Right.
They usually want to see that you kind of fit in. There's a character attribute to it or something. And so there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean skill level.
I think a lot of white belts, especially when you first start off, and I will say I'm guilty of this. When you first start off in jiu-jitsu, right? And if you're listening to this and you're white belt, and maybe this is an eye opener for you. I was like, I want my blue belt. That's my goal. I want my blue belt. I don't care what I have to do. I don't care how long. Like I want it as fast as possible.
I remember when you were on that train.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. I admit. Right. Like there was before I went to Japan. My goal was.
Is there a little bit of that still?
No.
No, they killed that.
No,
it's
I
gone.
mean, so let me rephrase that.
Are you lying to me?
He's
not. I'm rephrasing.
We talk about it all the time. He's not lying about it.
I still would love my blue belt. Right. It's kind of a recognition for the hard work that I have done.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because. Who was I listening to?
Bro, I wore my blue belt around the house when I first got it.
You see this? You better watch out. I'm a blue belt. Right? No, I forgot who it was who was talking about this, but they say who's ever telling you that belts don't matter are people that don't have the next belt. Right. If they're saying a blue belt doesn't matter, it's because they're a white belt and they don't have a blue belt. Right. The people that have the blue belt know what they put in to earn that blue belt. So they respect how they got it. They respect the belt. Right. And they're not saying, well, my blue belt doesn't matter. Right. They're not saying it doesn't matter because they put lots of blood, sweat, and tears into getting what they have. Right. Mm-hmm. And to downplay the belt and your skill level just to say, oh, it doesn't really matter. Like, in a sense, it doesn't. Being a white belt does not stop you from learning.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And right. But getting advanced to the next belt shows that you've put the work in. You've put the time in. You've put the
it's like
consistency.
appreciation.
It's
man.
appreciation. That's what it is, right? Like your professor, your coach, whoever, whatever you want to call it, has recognized that you have tried and you have been consistent and you have learned and you've soaked as much. You were a dry sponge. Now you're soaking wet, right? Like you've tried as much as you can. You've absorbed that whatever they were giving at you in order for you to advance to the next level. And that's their thank you. That's their thank you. Honestly, that's what it is. That's the professor's thank you. You don't get promoted unless the professor feels like you're there, right? So it's a thank you.
But that's really all it is, right? Like the professor has whatever professor you have. The professors could feel different.
Some have timelines in their head. Some professors are like, it's not going to be. And I don't care
how
good you are.
We've seen a whole mix and match, bro. We've seen a whole mix and match since we've been here.
And I don't want to downplay blue belts that are blue belts because is no disrespect or purple belts that are purple belts or whatever, right? But there are people, right, that maybe got advanced early or didn't get advanced soon enough, or you roll with that white belt, you're like, dang, why is this dude a white belt? You know, or you roll that
so
purple
hard.
belt.
Yeah, well, and a lot of instructors just kind of they go, especially blue belt, they'll just kind of like, all right, we'll just promote like 5 people today, and they'll be at different places, but they'll be maybe closer, and it'll be maybe specific to that one person, if somebody's got like a disability or something like that, you don't hold them to that standard. And it's usually like competitors, you'll see like they'll kind of get like the brunt of it, You'll see like them have like the strictest criteria, to get their blue belt.
You have to win 3 competitions, and then you'll get your blue belt or whatever. Yeah, and that's what I was afraid of is when we first started like talking about competing. I was afraid it was going to be, hey, you're not going to get your blue belt unless you compete, and it's not that at all, right? It's not like that. But that was my concern when we started having more competition-based classes, right? We have a class on Saturday just based for competition, and then a lot of our technique were point-based and holding someone for 3 seconds. And I was like, look, I love learning jiu-jitsu no matter what it is. But I do not, and this is like, obviously we changed our mindset now. But during it, I was like, I don't plan on competing. Like, I don't really care about.
I think a lot of people go in to jiu-jitsu not. Like
the
sport is not as popular as like the MMA part of it. And a lot of people go in not expecting to compete and just want to learn it. It's very fair.
Absolutely.
But go compete if you can.
Yeah.
It's one of my biggest regrets.
I was about to say, would you guys tell every white belt? Obviously, Jelson, we talked about this, right? Would you guys tell every white belt to compete at least once?
Yes,
for sure, man. Because like, you want that feeling. You want to be able to put yourself out there. Like, Like, I mean, like my whole plan for the rest of my life is every single belt that I get promoted to, I'm gonna compete, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily have to go do MMA and stuff because I mean. Your body gets older and stuff, right? But I think like jiu-jitsu
it's such a good what's the word for it? Compromise as an adult. You know, for jiu-jitsu, having a lot of 30-somethings or late 20-somethings. Yeah, not everybody wants to fight or feels that need to. But man,
like sometimes
4-minute rounds for me. I'll be executive level.
4-minute rounds? Is that what it is?
Yeah, so I'm over 40. So,
really?
Yeah, so I'm good to go.
Go compete.
I'm like, man, hopefully I'm in good enough shape I can whoop some people up. But
dude, that 4 minutes is going to go by so fast, dude. So fast, man.
Yeah. You'll be so happy you did it.
Yeah.
Man, I promise.
I'll bring you back in November and we'll see how happy I am.
Yeah.
You remember we did that podcast.
If you lose and you're like sad.
John has the best analogy for watching white belts compete. John,
what's that?
What is it?
Are you talking about when I went and watched?
Yeah, when
I'll tell you what I saw.
This is so good. I love this.
So I got to watch some of the higher levels, and it was cool, right? Like they had like a different game. It was like more, I want to say, intellectual, where they were like, you could tell they were thinking through everything.
The higher belts, you said?
Yeah. So then I watched some of that. It was all good. It was real intellectual. Like there was no craziness to it. Like it looked like I was watching a chess game between 2 chess masters. Then I watched the blue belts. Blue belts were still good, right? Like it wasn't as smooth, but it was still good. Then I watched the white belts. And I'm just going to tell you the difference in the stand-up game. So when I watched all the stand-up game with the higher belts, a big difference was they would go in, and if it wasn't there, they'd immediately jump out and keep distance. There was like a lot of distance between them. When I watched the white belts, it was like 2 bulls full of steroids that hit each other and locked horns and couldn't break apart.
He's talking about the kids division.
Yeah, but literally they'd hold each other's collars. They didn't let go.
They don't even go to the ground sometimes.
No, and they were just back and forth, back and forth, back
Absolutely.
and forth. And I took a lot away from that. For one, I need to work on my stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
For two, keep distance. But I was like, it was just interesting to watch that. And I'll tell you one thing I took away from that is I saw very few, if any, submissions the entire day.
Mm-hmm.
I saw maybe 3 or 4.
They're positional fights.
Yeah, and I
Lot of
may
it
have talked to you
positional
about
fights,
it.
yeah.
So I'm going into November with a different game plan, and I already talked to my professor about it.
Mhm.
I'm going to go in, and I want to seek a submission that entire 4 minutes. I'm not going to go for I know points are important. I got that. But I'm going to seek the submission. And the strength of my game is actually when I'm on my back. I'll try to get
You're
away
comfortable
from,
on your back.
I'm very
Oh,
comfortable
that's
on my
good.
back.
That's good. A lot of
Yeah.
white belts would rather be on top.
I absolutely do not, which is why when I roll with some people, they kind of like, if they're higher, they'll kind of play dead and just see what I can do. That actually, it's probably better because it makes me do things I'm not comfortable with, but I would rather be getting attacked full speed because that's where I feel like I'm more comfortable. But we'll see. But I want to spend those 4 minutes really attacking and really looking for a submission. And we'll see how that goes. That's what I'm going to train for. And I'll use Travis for my dummy.
You'd probably do, you'd probably like those, the round robin style tournaments.
I don't know what
The
that is.
submission only.
Oh yeah. We were talking about
Yeah,
that.
I just
Oh,
don't-
those are fun.
Yeah.
Oregon Open and
Yeah.
things like that.
Sub-league.
Sub-league,
yeah.
Sub-league, Oregon Open.
Mhm.
Those are all the same. Very fun, very fun. And you get, because if you do Revolution, that's a point-based.
Yeah, I
based
know,
on the
yeah, I
IBJJF
saw,
rule
yeah.
set. And you're guaranteed 2 matches. And so if you lose both, that's it. You'll get 2 for sure. But Sub-league, if you get
Yeah.
30 people, they might split it into 2 brackets, but you'll get so much more for your money, and then you can really play for the submission.
You could fight for that submission the whole time
I
and not have to worry
Mhm.
about it,
Mhm.
right?
I did notice.
We're still worried about
Oh,
it.
and that's
but-
time. That's time competing,
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a way to look at it too. It's time under pressure. It's time with people looking at you, and that's time where somebody's most likely trying to win.
Yeah.
So 2 things. How do you guys feel about people yelling out instruction to you when you're
Love
in
it.
competition or
You
rolling?
love it?
Love it.
Yeah.
Same way?
Same here, man. It's like
I was curious.
It's part of
Like-
the game.
it's their outside perspective, It's like
So when you hear it, do you stop what you're doing and do what they're telling you?
Sometimes
No.
I don't.
Okay.
I love it. Never listen to it though.
I just don't know if it's on you or not, but for me, it breaks my concentration. Like I'm working on something and I know like where I'm going, and if someone's like really yelling at me, it makes me stop what I'm doing and then I do what they're telling me to do, which I'm normally not comfortable with because that's not what I was working to.
That's
And-
probably a difference between so Jelson has experience and I have experience too, where we're probably comfortable and have our tendencies and what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody might be trying to coach and tell me what they see that it's open, and then
Yeah.
I can see that they see.
and you're just fast
but
with it.
It's like I have if you roll with me a lot, you'll see I kind of do the same things over and over and
I
over
think
and
that's
over
with
for the most
everyone,
part, right?
Right.
Everyone kind of has their
Yeah,
game,
you develop
right?
the game. Yeah, the game's what I was basically saying, and you kind of develop that as you go. So as a white belt, John, like you'll.
So I was wondering if I should just listen to them and stop going with whatever
if you
it is I'm trying to do.
I think like
that's hard to say.
I know it is for me too. So I'm like, man, am I
that's-
stunting my game by not listening to them?
That depends
or-
if you know what you're doing or not. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I know what I'm working towards, and I don't know if they know it when they're yelling at me. And then because then I'm like, the other person hears it
The
too.
other
So
guy
now
hears
they
it
know
too.
what I'm trying.
Yeah.
So
Justin, how
it's
do you feel about it?
Yeah.
I think like listen, like if your coach is yelling something for you, it's like they're trying to help you out. They're
Yeah.
not like trying to change what
I
you
get
are
it,
doing.
yeah.
I mean, absolutely, if you are in control and you know what you're doing, and then or you have a goal to try to accomplish, right? Or while you're rolling with or competing with that one person, it's like, but you don't know if it's if it just doesn't feel right, like listen to them, man, because like
Yeah.
they're just seeing things that you can't see,
Right, 'cause you're in the
you're so
moment.
into
Right.
it, you're in the adrenaline,
That makes
all that
sense.
stuff, But like for them listening to your coach or whatever, whatever. I mean, it is there, but whoever is quicker to get to it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Like
It's almost like someone's yelling at me from 200 miles away. By the time I hear it, I'm pretty sure the guy with me's heard it.
like
You got to introduce yourself as a different name then. Like, hey, I'm Steve. How's it going, buddy?
You know,
I'm
that's a
Bobby
good
Roney.
idea. I might
about,
steal that. That's great.
Yeah,
I like
and then when
that.
they're like, Travis, do this. He's like, this motherfucker don't know
Dude.
Steve.
and it's like last year I had my first like no-gi competition over at Grappling Industries. I think you watched me over there over at Everett Community College. Yeah, so that was my first no-gi ever,
Jelson's
right?
super fun to watch, by the way.
Why is that?
So aggressive. He's
Is he?
aggressive. Yeah.
Yeah, I could sense it from him. Like, I was like, if I roll against Jelson, he's gonna be beating my butt the whole
loved it.
time, bro.
Jelson got me amped.
Yeah, dude. So
You got me so amped. Man.
Thank you,
were
man.
going for it. It was a lot of fun.
dude, like so this guy, like I could tell I was better than him, you know what I mean? And like once you get in there, you feel it out, whatever, and then once you're into it, like you just kind of know where this person's trying to be at, right? And then that guy's coach was just yelling everything, and then my coach was just quiet the whole time. And then like before competition, like, you know, the coaches remind me like it's all in the training, you know what I mean? So it's like they give us like
Yes.
with me, how I felt like they were limiting what they're telling me, right? Because they're trusting me at the same time to know what the hell I'm doing, right? But this guy, like, their coach was just yelling everything. And they're like, to me, it's like, well, I can
Swoop
fucking
the
hear
leg,
you.
Johnny.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
Swoop the
it's
leg.
like, keep his leg. All right, well, I'm going to get rid of this. Like, make sure you get off my leg so I could clear it, right? And
Yeah.
it was just, I don't know, like, there's that trust, dude. There's that trust with your teammates, with your coaches and stuff. But you have a game plan. Me personally, right? I talk to them about what I want to do, and then typically they'll tell me go for it, right? And then they'll just guide me through the whole thing. And when they're yelling stuff at me, it's because it's things that I'm not seeing, you know. So I'm all for like yell at me if I don't see something, tell me what it is so I can go try to go for that plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when I competed in weightlifting for a while as a 77-kilo weightlifter, and in weightlifting, you have a coach on the sideline kind of guiding you.
Is it more of like a motivation thing? Or?
Yeah, it's kind of a motivation thing, and it's kind of remember these key things in your lift, right? So when you weightlift, it's kind of like golf. When you actually grab the barbell, everyone's quiet, right? The second you pick that barbell up, people are cheering for you. Your coach is yelling at you, right? And then you say you're doing a clean and jerk, right? I catch the clean. Everyone's yelling at me to stand up, do this and that. And then I get ready for the jerk. And my coach Cody was my coach when I was a competitive weightlifter. Competitive, air quotes again. But
You did do the air quotes again.
One more time, please.
Air quotes. Right? But he would be off to the sideline, and he would give me quick, concise ideas that put it in my head to remember to do, right? He's like, core tight, elbows up, press this guy or whatever, right? Like just a super simple thing. He can deliver at a very fast pace because weightlifting is very quick. Just like jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
Jiu-jitsu's quick, right?
Mhm.
You could say, pass the leg, boom, passing the leg. You know what I mean? Like you need to be quick, and you can't have hold on to the leg, that way you can, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
right.
You have to give key ideas in a very limited amount of time in order for action to be complete, right?
Yeah.
So in weightlifting, Cody would be off to the side, elbows high, core tight, you know what I mean? Short dip, and boom, I execute, I land the jerk, and then 3 whites or 3 reds or whatever it is. You know what I mean? 3 whites means good lift, 2 whites mean good lift, 2 reds means bad lift, right? Anything more than 2 reds. So when I hear about coaching, most of the time when it comes to jiu-jitsu, people are yelling coaching cues, and it's nonstop. You know what I mean? Like it's nonstop. And to me, I can't compete that way. I can't learn that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me do what I'm doing, and when I'm stuck or when you see a key thing that I don't see, let me know. I don't mind, like John and I talk about this, like I don't mind if people yell at me every once in a while. What I do mind is people nonstop, like trying to dictate every little thing I'm doing, because what you
That's
see
a good way to put it. Yeah.
What you see from the side isn't what I feel from the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, you may say, hold on to his leg, but in my head, I'm feeling him trying to pass, right? Or I'm feeling him trying to do this, or I'm feeling him trying to do that. Because, and no disrespect to what you see off to the side, but there's a difference between feeling and seeing, right? They're two different sensories, right? You say do this, but I'm feeling him doing this.
Yeah, that's a great way to
You know
put
what I
it,
mean?
yeah.
Like, so I don't mind coaching, but you have to be able to understand when to do it and when not to do it, right? Like, which is the hard part, and that's where years of like progression and years of doing it and competing and whatnot. That's where that comes in. You know what I mean? That's my idea.
Yeah. The coaching seems to change. At least I think it did for me. Like when I competed as a blue belt, I didn't compete as a white belt, but as a blue belt, my call outs were more like technical.
Right.
You know, look for this, go for this position type thing.
I keep hitting this microphone.
Travis's mic is on a box. It's kind of funny to look at.
This is a brand new mic that I literally just bought today just for this podcast.
We're big ballers here.
It was $40.
I've been complaining about the table.
Thank you, Acorns.
This episode was brought by Acorns.
But as a brown belt, the call outs had been more like pacing.
Yeah. Like explain.
uh,
Go a little bit deeper into that. What do you
So
mean by
as a
pacing?
as a blue belt, or a white belt, I hear a lot of white belt coaching. So even though I didn't compete as a white belt, the white belt coaches that I hear would call out things like watch out for the triangle, stack when you're in an arm bar. If you're the guy's guard or something
more
like that.
technical. I see what you're saying there. Yeah.
As a brown belt, for me personally, it was more like you're up on points. You know, slow down.
Gotcha.
Control, hold. You know.
Oh yeah.
You know. You're down on points. You need to go. You need to finish. You
Right,
have 1 minute left, and you're down 30 points or something like that. I wasn't down 30 points, but you know, it's more like strategy, or there's more, you know, time call outs are more important or something like that, you know. So you know that could be a thing too.
And once again, going back to the weightlifting thing real quick, because so Van, one of our coaches at the gym, was a nationally ranked weightlifter, right? In the United States, in his weight class, he was number 6.
Is this at the gym you're at now?
Yeah, at the gym we're at now, right? And Van downplays how good he was. Van was amazing at weightlifting, right? Unfortunately, had a lot of injuries because of it, and that's why he doesn't do it anymore. But when John's leaving the room because he has to pee.
He's breaking the seal.
He's breaking the seal. It's a bad idea.
The first one, man.
Look how like a flush he looks. He's drunk. but same thing, right? Cody coaching Van at nationals was completely different, right? Watching the videos, he did not say the cues that he gave me, and I didn't even recognize it until you mentioned it just now, right? He would give time cues because Van would wait. There's a buzzer. I believe it's 30 seconds. The buzzer will go off saying you have 30 seconds until you start your lift, or until time's up for you need to start your lift, pretty much, right?
Sure.
Because there's a time frame you need to start. But so the buzzer would go off, and Cody would be like 30 seconds, and that was it, right? Cody would catch a clean. Cody would be like calm, and then he would do the jerk, right? There wasn't a whole lot of technical things to it.
Oh, that's so important too.
You know what I mean?
It's got to be
It's
different for everybody,
right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I never even recognized it until you just mentioned it right now, right? The higher level you get, the less cues you need, the less things you need, the more
different info that you need.
There's like less instructions,
more
you know?
mental.
Yeah.
There's more mental things that you need in order to understand what's going on,
John
right?
would pee so fast.
Dude, that was quick. Did you wash your hands?
I did, sir. What? I went past Peter. What?
In his pee.
Yeah, use that colostomy bag. You're gonna use a bat? Did Jelson now,
yeah,
bro? Oh my God.
I set it up for
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. As long as I wasn't up.
Dude, we need to take a break and get more beer.
Yeah, man, we gonna take a break.
We'll be back in 30
yeah,
seconds.
we could take a break real quick.
Yeah.
We could, yeah,
Okay,
we could do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on.
Okay.
All right, we're back from our little bit of break. Everyone had to use the bathroom. We got a little bit of drinks. All right, so. But John, what were you just talking about? My amazing 6-stripe white belt?
In case people didn't know, Travis is actually a 6-stripe white belt. And the reason why is we've had several promotions where he does not replace the tape on his belt.
Nice, dude. Good play. That's good.
That's right.
Keep
I'm like,
doing
I'm
it.
a 6-stripe white belt.
So
I
every
even
time
put- I even
he's
put
had
on
so
my
many,
Instagram.
he's had 2 promotions where he's gotten his 4th stripe.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah. I came back from Japan, and so what happened is I rolled with our purple belt that was out in Japan, right? And he plays a lot of lapel guard, squid guard, worm guard, all that stuff, right? So we were rolling one night, and he grabbed my belt and just brought my belt in, and he was like wrapping it around my leg or something like that. I don't remember what he does, Trey, whatever you do. But at the end of the roll, I looked down, and 2 of my stripes have like formed into one, right? Or formed into my second one. And I was like, dang. Did I do that bad? You demoted me mid-roll? And I just never fixed my belt. And I came back from Japan the first night we're back from Japan, and it was promotion night. And then our professor was like, Travis, we'll go ahead and promote you to 4 stripes. And I was like, I've been 4 stripes. He's like, okay, we'll fix your belt tonight. I was like, all right, looks like I'm a second-year senior.
You were definitely a 4 stripe.
Yeah.
You were 4 stripe as fuck.
Yeah.
It was
Super
fantastic.
senior, bro.
I was like,
I'm a super senior. That's right.
I tell people all the time, he's a 6 stripe. Y'all better recognize.
I'm a well-respected white belt in this thing. You know what I'm saying? I better be leading these warm-ups. No, I'm just joking.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was my experience of getting promoted to 4 stripes twice. That was great. So, but hey, before we started recording, one thing we were talking about was some no-gi, and Chris and I have talked about this at work a couple times, and my eyes no-gi. At first, I was kind of against no-gi, right? Because I started in the gi, but then I started doing no-gi, and I was like, this is great. I love me some no-gi, right? And we talked about it at work, how I kind of make the analogy of, to me, gi jiu-jitsu is chess, right? There's a lot of things going on, and there's a lot of predictability, and what are they going to do in order for you to react, right? Because they can grab everywhere on you, right? There's always something someone else can be doing and thinking 4 steps ahead of you, right? A little bit slower, a little bit more methodical, a little bit more thought out, right? Now you go into no-gi. That is checkers to me. That thing is quick. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not much more you can do. If you're letting space go, you're letting space go, and that other person can capitalize on it way faster. There's much more fast pace. You know what I mean? And to me, now that I do more no-gi, I'm like, man, no-gi's a whole lot of fun. I kind of want to compete in no-gi. You know what I mean? Just because coming from my like the one semester, like I tell people this all the time. I did one semester of wrestling, right? Apparently it stuck with me. But going back into no-gi, I'm like, man, this stuff is kind of fun. It's fast-paced. Like, it's trying to hold on to someone. When you manhandle someone in no-gi, it's because you know you're manhandling someone in no-gi. Like, you know you're not holding pins down because of gi or something like that. You know what I mean? And, Jelson, you were talking about that, about how much you're enjoying no-gi right now. Like, what first sparked you to get into no-gi?
Well, one is it's one of the classes, right? And then, obviously, like, to get into MMA and stuff, it's like, you're not gonna have a gi on, right? So like there's a lot less stuff to grab onto, and I think it just kind of changes everything, dude.
Yeah.
And like rolling with people in gi like that, I know I can't beat them or whatever. When we roll into like gi, it's like I have more chances. You know what I mean? Just because it's a whole different ball game, dude.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, it's a lot less stuff to grab onto. You have to hold on to like the meats of their muscle and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like you got to go for the tricep and
Sweat changes everything.
Yeah,
Sweat changes so much.
Rash guard.
Yeah,
Why,
man.
You just say one word? Sweat. Rash guard.
Skin.
I like how it looks right into your eyes
Yeah,
when it
you were
says
so
sweat.
intense with that.
We did no-gi Thursday, and they were like, John, you can't grab the shorts. And I'm like, well, nobody told me that. I'm trying to grab whatever I can.
But go on. Sorry.
Yeah.
Kind of got caught off guard on that.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's just really fun, and like the black belt that we have teaching it, he just breaks everything down like really easily. Like he'll show us moves that that's interchangeable with both gi and no gi. You know what I mean, and I think that's the important part. I don't know.
It's just fun, man.
It is.
Another thing I like about no-gi is you can go a little bit harder in no-gi and not feel so bad about it, in my eyes, right? Because it's faster pace, so like you can put a little bit more muscle in to get out of something. You know what I mean? As to where no-gi, if they have a good grip on it, you put a little bit more muscle in, you're like, nah, that ain't going
Like,
nowhere.
you got me.
Yeah,
bro.
no, that's it. That's it. You know what I mean? So, and as a stronger person, being able to use my strength kind of excites me also. And by the way, I didn't know I was strong until I got into jiu-jitsu.
Same here.
I didn't know. Yeah, John got called freakishly strong the other day. He's a 42-year-old man with half a hip
let's talk about that a
and
little
a mechanical heart.
bit. Yeah. So one thing I found is
Let's talk about how strong John is.
no, I'm not that strong. I'm not. But what I've noticed is, and we got it a lot in Japan, they kept saying how strong me and Travis were. And I think the difference was Travis CrossFits way more than I do. But I was doing it for about a year by the time we went to Japan, and I had done it before.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, so we have a visiting black belt from a different gym right now, and I rolled with him last week. And we had talked, and he said that I was really strong with my upper body, and he had to change a few of his grips and things like that to compensate. And he said that what he's used to doing is running people through a pre-workout that is really extreme to use up a lot of their strength, so they have to rely on technique. And that kind of confused me a bit, and we've talked about it before, but I feel like some people think we're using a lot of strength instead of technique, but to us, we're not. That's just the strength we have. We're not really using more than anyone else. It's just if you strength train, I think that gives you a little more strength than most of the people in jiu-jitsu that might not be lifting weights.
Yeah.
So whereas they think we're going too hard or using a lot of strength, we're really not.
You're just conditioned for it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that sometimes people think we're going too hard. And we're like, when I visited Hybrid and I was rolling with the Greek goddess guy that was cut up, the retired Marine, he told me probably 6 or 7 times that I
Matt,
could.
if you're listening to this,
He told me 6 or 7 times that I could I could take it down a bit or go a little less, or I don't need to go so hard. And really, that wasn't me going hard. That was just my normal.
Yeah, and John put it kind of put it kind of in perspective. Oh my gosh, that our 50 to 80% could be someone's 80 to 100%. You know what I mean? Like, and
absolutely.
That's the thing about jiu-jitsu, right? Is it's so based on your body and your mindset and how you do things in jiu-jitsu and your game, like we talked about earlier, right? Like, I couldn't tell you the last time I even went 90 to 100% on someone, right? Like, maybe George, our purple belt, is probably the only person I go hard on, right? Because we like matching each other. Well, Cody too. I'll take that back. Cody I go kind of hard on, right? Because Cody's a strong, gigantic man, you know, and I feel like a man-child in his arms. So I'm gonna go a little bit harder so I don't get cuddled in the middle of a roll, you know. So,
sure.
But for most people, I don't go more than 50, 60%.
But you've heard a lot that you're too strong.
But I've heard a lot that I'm too strong, and I'm like, I don't know how much more I have to tone down in order, because at some point like Billy Adams puts it a great way. He's like, look, I'm not telling you not to use your strength, right? He's like the strength is part of your game. People don't tell me not to use my flexibility because flexibility is part of my game, right? He's a very mobile person. He's like, what I am telling you is to know when to use your strength in a situation, not just going, and this is when we first started, not just going 100%, using 100% all the time, because then, yeah, you are just muscling things, right? And Billy can't use his flexibility 100% of the time because I don't think there's a situation where you can use your flexibility 100% of the time. But you know what I mean? So everyone's game is a little bit different. John and I's game just has a little bit more strength in it. Not to say that we're trying to manhandle someone or muscle through it. It's just that we're stronger, air quotes for the third time, stronger person.
You did it.
You know what I mean? So what are your guys' takes on, because I'm sure you guys have rolled with a lot of white belts. So do you feel a difference from a white belt that is strong and going a little bit harder, and a white belt that's not as strong, but they are going like a ram locking horns with you? You know what I mean? Like, can you guys tell a difference? And like, what do you tell a person when you roll with them like that?
Like, for me, man, like you just gotta feel them out.
Yeah.
Right? And then I let them do whatever they do, and then they just gotta defend from it. That's how I feel people out.
Yeah.
Right? And like, if they are just like freakishly strong, sure, whatever. Like, I'll have
Good training, right?
Yeah, it is, and it kind of keeps me on my toes. It's like to how I have to adjust to that one person.
Yep.
Right. And then somebody else is just like really skillful but not as strong. like I find them to be more fun because like yeah, you could do your moves on me and I can defend from it or whatever and trade off and like how the roll goes or but like for me it's like I'll be able to show you some stuff that I could do too because I can manhandle you in a way to like you're gonna return it back, right? And I prefer those guys better than like somebody just freakishly strong. Because like for like anybody that's like is just that much stronger than me, like I have to try harder to not, or just I have to try harder just to try to survive that.
Do you strength train?
Not so much.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I did.
We have a lot. Cody, John, and I all have had long conversations about strength training and jiu-jitsu. Because just touch on this real quick because people will say skill should always beat strength, right? Skill should always beat strength in jiu-jitsu until skill meets skill, right? And then strength will take over.
Yep.
Whoever is the stronger, more athletic person, if they are the same level of
Don't
skill,
think so?
you don't think so? What do you? How do you feel about that?
I don't know. What about the guy that? Who's that guy that plays the mountain in Game of Thrones? What's that guy's name?
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking
you
about.
know who I'm talking about?
Yeah,
the guy's
mountain.
huge, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I haven't grappled with that guy before, but I'm sure that guy is very tough. And
Right.
If he had.
No, but what if you were
Let's
at the
say-
same skill level?
Oh, absolutely.
That's what we're saying.
But I well,
It's
maybe,
not like I go up like there's a blue belt we have, right? Me and him are pretty much the same skill level, right? But he outweighs me by like 50 pounds. He's probably stronger. So even though we're at the same skill level, he'll win more times just off his
maybe
strength.
I need Travis to repeat what he just said because
go
what I
ahead.
thought I heard-
I'm saying strength will win over when skill meets skill.
When
Like if
you're
you are
same
on the
skill
same
level.
skill level, say this person strength
Okay.
trains and this person doesn't, the person that strength trains will probably win more often because their body is more conditioned, is more
Well, absolutely. That's,
Right.
Well, I mean that's common sense. To
right,
me,
right. But people would disagree with that.
Well, I mean, I would disagree with the popular opinion that skill will beat strength.
Oh,
in
okay,
every-
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
in
yeah.
every category.
Gotcha.
So that's a
And
real
that's what
popular
that's
thing,
what,
right?
That's what we're trying to say is like it's not true.
So somebody could be strong as F, and I could be technically good as F, but be very weak. And maybe the guy who's very strong could win.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because if you try to get someone, I had this happen to me the other day. I had someone in an arm bar and snuck up on it, right, super tight to it because the guy was so strong. I literally could not put enough weight into the arm bar to pull his arm back, and his arm was like this. He wasn't even gable gripping. He wasn't locking arms. He had a bent arm.
And
And
just
he was
curling
so
you.
He was curling me. He was so strong, and my skill level is, no offense to this guy, is not immensely better, but I am a way better skill level than this guy. But because he is so strong, I could not finish the arm bar. I was like, well, trying to find something else because this is not going to happen. I got him in a mounted triangle, locked in the triangle, right?
Yeah.
And he was so strong, he was able to just move his arm out of the way and move
and
my
he-
leg out
and,
of the way.
and he also weighs 205. So
no,
there's
he weighs more than 205.
well, I'm saying there's a big weight difference
yeah,
there too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you can get technically good to a point, but I mean, if we took like a gorilla or something like that,
Right.
like, and I did perfect technique to armbar this gorilla from my guard,
He's going to slam you.
it doesn't matter. Like if the gorilla just smashes me,
Yeah.
if that's like the only thing it knows how to do,
Right.
I'm probably gonna have a bad time with that.
Right.
And I don't think that you should ignore simple physics for technique. You know,
Right.
I mean, I think that's a very popular thing for people to say is that skill will always beat strength. But I mean, I think that there's some point to.
I think until you meet it, and you're like, well, so
There's a
what's that?
reason why
Yeah.
UFC
I-
fighters strength train. There's a reason
At-
why top level
that is-
jiu-jitsu guys strength
that
train.
is
It's a
be
reason.
common. Yep, that's
You know what I
it.
mean? It's
Mhm.
100%. UFC fighters, right, do not just box and do jiu-jitsu and that's it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like they do everything. They
Well, I mean,
condition
some guys
themselves.
don't, you know,
Right.
but they're
In a
usually
sense.
lighter guys, you know, and they don't want to bulk up and they want to stay in their weight class or something. You know,
Right,
and that's,
right. Well, that's and coming from the strength and conditioning. That's the common misconception. Also, is if I strength train, I'm gonna get big. Not true,
Mhm.
right? Like you can strength train and get like Jelson
Mhm.
can strength train, put on 5-6 pounds of muscle, right, and still be 130 pounds, 132 pounds, and be the strongest person you'll probably ever meet in your life, right? For his size, right? Mass moves mass, right? Once again, going back to physics, a bigger person will move more weight almost all the time when they are at the same skill level, right? Going back to my Olympic weightlifting, right? In the Olympics, a super heavyweight will always move more weight than a 69 kilo weightlifter or a 77 kilo weightlifter.
Yeah.
Now, pounds per body weight, the 77, 69 kilo weightlifter might move more pounds per body weight, but in raw weight, the super heavyweight will almost guaranteed always move more weight, right? But we can go into, there's like theorems out there of like weight versus all that. But in a sense, like Jelson could still be the same size person and just get stronger and better his game, right?
Ooh, better get into some strength training, Jelson.
I know, right?
You know what I'm saying?
But I know a guy.
I just don't think you should, if you're doing this sport or hobby or whatever you want to call it to be the best that you can be, I don't think that you should ignore.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Strength.
I agree.
I mean, it's like ignoring your diet. Like we all probably would agree that diet's very important, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
why would you ignore strength or
right?
Cardio is super important.
That's what I got to work on.
And not only cardio in a sense of anaerobic, short metabolic conditioning, right? But aerobic, also long conditioned training sessions where you're running or doing something for long periods of time at a low heart rate, right? Because a lot of jiu-jitsu, yes, there are short bursts of energy where you're going for something or you're trying to transition or whatever. But a lot of jiu-jitsu is, we go back to the chess, right? It's long, like trying to figure things out, trying to feel things out. And then you're going, you know what I mean, for those quick little things. You know what I mean? So becoming a better athlete all around is only going to benefit you in the long run if you're looking to compete in jiu-jitsu, right? If you have the simple mind of, well, if I can lock an armbar down technically perfect, I'll get it every time. It's like,
go grapple a kid.
no,
Go grapple a 10-year-old.
No.
The best 10-year-old that you know.
Okay, Riley, who has the double jointed elbows.
I think
good luck
Riley's
on that.
12 or 13.
She's
Riley,
so flexible.
No offense to Riley. Could you beat Riley?
I could be Riley. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would.
Only
No
because
offense,
I'm,
Riley, I
only
don't know
'cause
you.
I'm older and stronger.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Strength
Yes.
plays into
Yeah.
it, right? Size and strength does play into it. And we talk about it too because if you're meeting someone on the street, Jelson, no offense, you're a smaller person,
Right.
You're a smaller guy, right? And if you were to walk up to the mountain and the mountain started punking you, it doesn't matter how good you are at jiu-jitsu or what your belt level is to jiu-jitsu. If the mountain wants to choke slam you, he's going to choke slam you.
Well, given that the mountain knows how to choke slam.
Right.
You know, if the mountain doesn't, if the mountain just knows how to stand there, like okay, so there's got to be something.
Yeah.
You
know what I mean.
There has to be
But-
some sort of skill,
Yeah,
right?
I
You know
mean,
what
like
It's
absolutely
even
no
like the
skill.
very basic skill set, right? Like you could try to like Imanari roll the mountain, and it's not
You
gonna
can't
work.
move it.
Yeah,
you can't even
you're
bend the
just gonna
guy's
go-
knee with like throwing your weight into the back.
Crap!
Yeah, of
All right,
his
this
leg,
is
yeah.
over with, and you're getting slammed, and then smash his face in like
I
this.
think it's
you know what I
very,
mean?
very, very important to be as realistic as possible. when it comes to
Absolutely.
this stuff. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you're teaching these people on a self-defense
Mhm.
perspective to not fill their head with,
BJJ, you can beat
you
anyone.
can beat anyone.
Yeah.
Well, which
You
is like
would-
this-
anyone
Well, I mean,
wants
I
to
have
see-
heard it a
which is
couple
what
times.
karate
right?
and a lot of
Yeah.
like traditional martial arts have I think done a disservice to people is
Yeah.
they've filled their head with this overconfidence in something that's maybe
No one can beat the
So,
sacred
I
art.
did taekwondo when I was a teenager,
okay. Let's talk about
and
it.
I went to Guthrie Job Corps when I was 17. And we had an instructor that was a jiu-jitsu wrestling college coach in
Mhm.
Oklahoma. Big
Mhm.
deal there. And I thought I was some pretty tough shit
Yeah.
from what I had
Oh, I
done
bet.
previously.
Children.
So when he took over our class at Guthrie Job Corps, he asked if anybody wanted to step on the mat and try it out. So I did, and that was my first introduction to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I'd say in about 2 seconds, I was on my back, spread,
Out
like
of your element.
couldn't move anything. He had it totally locked down, and I was like, "Well, that's a good eye opener."
Mm-hmm.
But it
Sucks.
was real interesting.
Sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
I was like, "Well,
Yeah, if you're being
somewhat.
real, yeah.
And I think even then we were in kickboxing, me and my buddy Tori, while we were in Job Corps.
You're like, I take this guy. I'll
And
punch
it's-
him in the face.
And what it
one
was,
time.
as soon as I took my leg off the mat, he just took me to
Well,
the ground. And
I'll
I
even
wrapped
like
it.
say like I did some striking. I'm not much of a kickboxer or anything. I'm not a kickboxer, but I've done
Not much of.
kickboxing.
I'm not.
Me
I'm just
neither.
literally
Me
not.
neither.
Man, just taking a jab to the face, man, that's so flustering.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's just like, oh, well, I've been ignoring a whole, another aspect of something, so.
Yep, slap jitsu. You ever watch that?
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah, man.
fantastic.
I'm like, man, there's a good eye opener.
Yeah.
That'll make you loosen up real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Will you guys follow Jiu-Jitsu or anything of that? Chewy on YouTube?
I'm aware of what it is. Yeah.
So I don't know if strength training is like a big deal right now in the whole BJJ community, but they talk about it a lot, and they just put out a program that's like a 10, 11-week strength training program where it's just weights for jiu-jitsu to help you out.
Yeah.
So I think like a lot of people are talking about it in the community, and like I think it's something a lot of people could do to help their game, and they just don't realize it yet.
Yeah.
But
because I feel like I've progressed in jiu-jitsu as well as I have because I do have a strength and conditioning background.
You get
know
more
what I mean?
opportunity to try techniques on, you can kind of, even if you're bad at it or something like that,
Yeah,
you can kind of like force it to kind of work a little bit.
And
then
I'm
you
really
can clean
trying
it up
not
later.
to do that, right? Like,
It's a learning thing.
yeah,
Mhm.
because I've been
you're fine now.
Yeah.
It's no
The
problem.
biggest thing I've had, like the most frustrating part of jiu-jitsu for me has not been getting tapped, not understanding technique, nothing to do with anything to actually with jiu-jitsu, but with myself, because I've been talked to multiple times by our school and other people saying, "Hey man, like you kind of use a lot of strength."
It's kind of a backhanded compliment, right?
Right. Like you're,
Wow,
yeah,
man,
dude.
you're
Right.
really strong.
Yeah.
yeah. So it's
I
hard
would
to-
have
Maybe.
did better if you weren't so
If you
strong.
weren't so
Right,
strong,
and
I would have
right,
kicked your ass.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
and so to me it's frustrating. It's like, well, I'm not really trying to use strength. Like, and it's kind of one of those things like I don't know when I'm using strength unless someone tells me, "Hey, I had that and you just muscled out of it." You know what I mean? Like, or hey, you're going a little bit too hard.
Complain about
You know
someone
what I
going too fast. Hey, you're going too fast. That's the only reason you beat me.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I might
right.
steal that. I
You
might
were,
try that.
you were. The only reason you beat me is because you're too flexible. Don't use all your flexibility. next
Yeah.
time.
and that's the thing is we go back to right.
And I've always
it's
told you,
part
I
of your
hated that
game, right?
when they
But-
told you that. Too strong? Like, it's not too strong.
Mhm.
If it's something that you can't get out of or whatever, then just tap and reset.
I mean, there is a. I mean, there is an argument. I mean, you can do something poorly
absolutely.
because
John?
you use too much strength.
Me?
For sure.
You
I
got
mean,
white knighted because of it.
that. Yeah.
You got white knighted because of that. What does that
Do
mean?
you really want to talk about that on here
You
again?
just don't drop names.
What he's referring to is I won't drop names, but I was rolling with a higher belt, and I thought I was only going like 30, 40 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't really doing anything much, but I was just trying some stuff out, and they got really flustered. And they kind of like stopped it and started cussing me out in the middle of the
Got
roll.
up, walked away mid roll, and
And,
stopped the entire class
yeah.
making a scene.
Yeah.
And John was so flustered he walked up and walked away and just stopped.
Not a good way to deal with
Yeah,
it.
Not
so
a good
I
one.
mean, I
Nice
told him,
person.
I was like, honestly, honestly, that was like my 30-40. I wasn't even going for submission. I was purely defense at that point.
That's the ego check, man.
And
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what was
They
going on
were
there,
a higher
but
belt too.
it kind of freaked me out, so I didn't run and roll after that. And I was like, all right.
What belt?
Blue.
Yeah.
I mean,
Couple stripes.
well,
And then it happened a couple times after me. So maybe
To
that
other
was-
people.
look, man. I mean, as a black belt, I've needed ego checks.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like I've been submitted by a purple belt or blue belt or something like that, and I said blue belt next because I was like trying to be honest with myself. But, you know, like, God, like it. I mean, it
Doesn't it just
sucks.
happen
It's-
though?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just that
Sometimes
everyone
you
gets
just
caught.
get caught.
Everyone
yeah,
gets
I mean,
caught.
it's,
I don't
it's-
understand
it's
what's
not
the big deal.
It happens,
It-
man.
everyone
It's
gets
part of
caught.
it.
It shouldn't be. It's pride.
I've been caught by someone and it's their first
You wanna know another-
second week in the class. Like
you
it's
know,
okay.
the other popular opinion is leave your ego at the door. You
Yeah.
heard that one?
Yeah,
Heard that one a
Yeah.
lot.
absolutely.
What motivates you to be good at jiu-jitsu?
Your ego.
Thank
You
you.
wanting
I'm
to be
competitive.
good.
I'm
Mhm.
competitive. That's what
another one.
Exactly.
So,
Being competitive is your ego. Now, there's a difference between wanting to get better and having an ego in yourself, right?
God,
and
I hope I
having
don't
the-
get unpopular for saying that, but that's such a popular thing to say. And
But-
I'm like,
but there's
well,
a
why do you train then?
But there's a difference, right,
do you
between
try?
having an ego of wanting to be better
checking it.
and then having an ego thinking you're the best. You know what I mean? Like and not being able to accept defeat. Like having that type of ego is, I think, what most people are talking about, right? Like being a blue belt that's been doing it for 3-4 years or whatever it is, and then having that 2-3 month white belt catch you in an arm bar because you're playing with them, and then you get frustrated because they caught you in an arm bar, right? And then your ego kicks in saying, well, I mean, it's because of blah, blah, blah.
I was
it's
just
like,
playing,
yeah, exactly,
just
right?
No
Like,
big deal.
I think-
I was just seeing what you had.
You weren't really
yeah,
Complacency.
I think that's the ego people are talking about. Don't bring to the mat, right? Like
Mhm.
if you get caught, we all literally just yelled it at the same time, like we said we weren't gonna do. Everyone gets caught. It doesn't matter who you are. You're gonna get
The
caught.
white belt shouldn't be proud in that scenario because maybe the blue belt was playing around.
So
I
here's-
feel
like,
that way.
so-
I feel that
like,
whenever
like,
I
so,
catch
like-
a higher belt, I'm like, were you messing with me?
I
Did
mean,
you just give me that?
I mean, you can keep it to yourself. I mean, we all keep it to ourselves,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
We all
yeah.
did. Like,
Yes,
you
so
know?
like one of our brown belts told me one time, it's like, dude, like it doesn't really matter who taps you, right?
Yeah.
Because I was kind of like frustrated at one point where I told him, man, this dude tapped me out, blah blah. Like I think they were blue belt, right? And then he's like, well, when you tap, it's like that person doesn't necessarily know if you were being complacent, you know, or
injured.
or injured or
Going a
whatever
little
your
bit easier,
situation
yeah.
was, or I don't know. So it's like it really is like it doesn't matter. It's like it's however you accept it, what happened at that moment. You know what I mean? Like they don't necessarily know like, oh, I'm better than this higher belt. Whatever.
Yeah.
What does
I
it
mean?
really matter?
Yeah.
What does it
doesn't-
matter?
It doesn't matter.
What does it?
It shouldn't,
does,
dude.
especially in your school.
Yeah.
Especially in
Especially in your
Yeah.
school, you are all there for the same exact reason.
You learn everyone's like little nuances.
Yes,
like,
when we first got to Japan, because I did not know the other white belts, I did not know the other purple belts, right? I was getting tapped left and right. You know what I mean? But the more you roll with people, the more you understand their keys, how you're saying like you do kind of the same thing. Everyone does kind of the same thing. Everyone has their own game, right? I always try to go for north-south Kimura. That's one of my things, right? You know what I mean? Like that's like one of my. We just high five. You know what I mean? Like say one of my
South
things.
Kimura, that's it.
Yes, that's like one of my favorite things to do, right? But if I don't know the person and how they're going to react, if I give them my cue to go to where I want them to, it's a little bit harder, and I don't know what they're going to do to react, so they might catch me or they might reverse me, like.
like
crap,
that
I don't
judo
know.
guy, the first time we rolled with the judo guy, and he
Yes.
did that sick sweep on us.
Yes.
We're like, whoa, what was this?
So we had a he was, what's the second highest belt in judo? Brown belt? I think it's brown belt for judo, right? Anyway, so he was
don't know.
he was a naval officer, right? And this guy was probably Jelson's size, right? And
Had
John
a
and I,
sick sweep. Yeah, it was so
dude,
sick.
this guy, we would be in side
You're saying
control.
sweep. Was it a sweep or was
No,
it a
reverse,
throw?
Reversal. Sorry.
reverse.
Yeah.
I don't know what he.
It's from standing?
No, we would be in side
It was a
control.
reversal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We would have it like we had it. Like it
Like
was
we
locked
were
in.
locked in, like we're holding this dude down.
Got it.
Yeah. Once again, the ego.
No
kicks in, like-
confidence. Like, we had it.
Like
it's
there
done.
is no big deal, and all of a sudden I'm like on my back. I'm like, hold up, wait a second.
What did
How
you
did
just
this
do?
just happen?
Take me back. Take me
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
Hold
yeah.
on.
Reverse that. Rewind. You know what I mean? And
Uh-huh.
that was a big ego check because like I was underestimating him.
Mm-hmm.
He was a judo guy, right? But he was a little bit smaller than me, a little bit weaker than me, but he had the easiest time to hit that sweep or that reverse. You know what I mean? And I gave it to him and I had no idea.
Yeah, me neither. But after he taught it to us, no one's ever got it again.
Nope.
Every time I've lost a competition,
No one's
I've
ever
never
gotten you
lost
again.
that same way again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, true.
And it's the
Very
Gracies
true.
talk about it there, and there's Henner. I think it was Henner that talked about it. He mentioned, my opponent didn't beat me because he was better than me. He's just failed more times than I have, right? And that's so true because if you can learn from every single time that you get tapped, you know what I mean, all that stupid stuff, or every time you lose or whatever, if you can learn from it, guess who's growing? The other person might not grow as much as you are because you failed. You know what I mean? Like
You win or you learn. Is that the
Yeah,
Yes,
that is it.
exactly.
I don't
You know
feel
what I
like
mean?
there's any losing.
There's
I tell
no-
that to
there's
my
not
kids all the
losing.
time.
There's not losing in jiu-jitsu. There's just learning, or you know what I mean? Like that's all it is because whether you win and you try something that you've never done before, and you're like, well, crap, that worked. That was great. It's still learning. right? Even if you go to your game that you do every single time, whether it's a North-South Kimura or whatever you guys do, and we'll go with that in a second, right? You're still learning that is still good, right? And you can always tighten it up or get better at it. There's always a learning experience in there. And if you have that open mindset of I'm learning from every situation, whether I win or quote air quotes. I gotta stop doing air quotes.
Is that the fourth or fifth time I lost count?
Seventh.
I'm a clown for days.
Yeah, right. or lose, right? No matter what, it
You
should
need one
be
of those
a
little
learning
streamer
experience.
decks that have like the little audible sounds. And you press
Yes,
the button.
yes, Elgato Stream Deck. Just on
yeah,
that. There
thank
we
you.
go. 15 button.
Oh my God.
But Jelson, we talking about Chris kind of talked about it for a second. His go-to North-South Kimura, right? Well, maybe we'll come back to you. Just hold on.
No, you're good. You're good. I don't want to tell
Jelson.
everybody what my go-to is.
What is kind of your go-to? Your creme de la creme?
So I like chokes better than like
Chokes?
joint locks, man. Yeah, like absolutely. Like for some reason, like it doesn't matter if you're my training partner or in competition mode or whatever. Like I personally don't want to physically break somebody.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
It's
I
like
really
the
don't.
real jujitsu mindset.
And like
submission.
for me, like if I could like choking out, man, it's like you're just losing air. You know what I mean? And then you could recover back from that.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're not like you don't have a broken arm, broken leg, whatever. So like for me, it's I could set up triangles pretty easily, man.
Yeah.
And then like if you give me your back, dude, you're dead.
Done.
Like I like to do bow and arrows because
Ooh.
like as my first blue belt competition, I got put in a bow and arrow. And I almost went out. I remember looking at the light at the gym, right? And it was just closing in, dude. And then I tapped, and then like light came back up, right? And like I don't know. Ever since then, like when they pulled that on me in the bow and arrow, it's like it's actually really easy to set up, and it's just like if you turn your back away, man, like that's money
Yeah.
for me, real easy for me. And I don't know, like I think just choking somebody else is just
Chokes?
just chokes, man. Lapel chokes too, man. Lapel chokes, like. We got
That's
some
so
trick
good.
shit, man. Yeah, and those are fun for me, dude.
Yeah. Herb Dean kind of talked about that when he was talking about the Ben Askren Robbie Lawler fight, how he gave Ben Askren the win over the Bulldog choke.
Mm-hmm.
And Herb Dean put this beautifully when he was on JRE. We talk about JRE so much. It's ridiculous. We will be talking about Elbows Type Podcast one day.
Joe Rogan, how dare you?
Yeah, right. But he had Herb Dean on there, and Herb Dean, as a referee, he talks about, he's like, when I'm refereeing and I see someone get put in a guillotine, in a rear naked choke, a blood choke of any kind of strangulation, he's like, oh, thank God, easy day.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, because what's the worst is going to happen?
They pass out.
They pass out. No broken
They'll wake
bones. Right, they wake up.
Take
right?
your
He's
time,
Like,
call on the end
yeah,
of
it's
that
like,
fight.
it's,
if they-
he's like,
If
it's
they're not gonna
so
tap.
easy. He's like, it's an easy day for me, right? He's like, now when I start getting worried is when I start seeing joint locks.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, or anything with your spine, whether it's a crucifix or it's a twister,
dude.
or it's a bulldog choke, and that's why he
all
was
that
so
stuff at the
quick.
beginning, by the way. Twister is like the one I don't.
Yeah, really.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's why he was so. That's why he. If you watch the Robbie Lawler fight, he talks about how he picked up the hand. Robbie Lawler's hand fell dropless.
Yeah.
Right, it's
Weightless.
just dropped. If you know anything, like he's obviously either knocked out or he's right on the brink of being out. Right, and a bulldog choke, what it does is it puts a lot of torque on your neck.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so in Herb Dean's mind, he's like, this is unsafe for Robbie because there's so much torque on his neck right now. I don't want to be late and have him be paralyzed because I was late to call. I'd much rather have him be mad at me because I called it early than have him be paralyzed because I called too late. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, he'll be mad at him.
Right,
you know what I
exactly.
mean?
Right,
Yeah.
you're just sitting there in a chair.
I hate you.
But in my eyes, I much rather just go out than I much rather have someone catch me in a blood choke or a strangulation than I had one of the largest man. He was bigger than Cody. I had rolled with him in Japan, and he got me in an arm bar, and it was his second class ever in jiu-jitsu.
That the wrestler?
No, Big Rob.
You popped it.
Oh yeah, Big Rob.
Dude,
Pop your arm.
so close. I couldn't tap fast enough. He got it, and it was my ego. I was like, this guy's brand new jiu-jitsu.
Big boy.
Don't wanna lose, yeah.
I'm just gonna give it to him and get out of it real quick, right? So I was on my side. He hooked the arm. I was like, okay. So once he goes to sit back for this arm bar, I'm just going to switch my hips, pull my arm out. This dude was a former wrestler, so he knew all about space. He falls back. I can't get my arm out, and he extends the hips and pulls on the arm, and he's 6'6",
Yeah, he's a big boy.
240, 250.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Massive
Many
man,
rolls with him.
right? And he just, boom. There it is.
And you got to be okay with that almost because, like, even though it's not a jiu-jitsu guy, it's a wrestler. It's like that's a grappling art,
Right,
guy.
yeah.
You should respect the guys.
Exactly, right. And I didn't know he was a wrestler, by the way, at the time. And then I found out afterwards, right? So I should,
Figured
if I
out
would have
real
known
quick.
that, I figured out real quick. But he got it, and it was on before I could tap, right? And I wasn't upset because it happens, right? He didn't break my arm. What is there to be upset about? Yeah, he extended it a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, right? But I should have put myself in that situation. I shouldn't have gave it to him. You know what I mean? Thinking I was good enough to get out of it. So it's not his fault that his inexperience took over,
That's a good
right?
way to look at it, yeah.
You know, it was my over cockiness that took over, that put myself in the situation. So afterwards, after it happened, I screamed like it was that bad.
Yeah.
And I was like yelling tap. He let go and he apologized instantly. And I just told him afterwards, like, hey man, like I know exactly what you're going through.
Hey man, you're really strong.
Right. Yeah, right. And I was like, I know exactly what you're going through, right? I was like, but get there quick, put it on a little bit slower. I was like,
Yes.
because your leverage puts it on a lot faster than you think, right? You have very long arms and legs. So when you extend just even the slightest, the leverage that you have is immense. You know what I mean? Like he could have easily.
Yeah, he was strong. He's a big boy.
He could have easily just snapped my arm in two. You know what I mean? But he didn't because I screamed.
I remember that high pitched scream.
Yeah, and then
and
and then I think it was the same class that he actually had his situation happen.
Wait, are you talking about the wrestler?
Yeah.
I want to tell Jelson real quick about this story.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch wrestling, either one of you two, when you were growing up?
what kind of wrestling?
Like WWE, WWE?
Yeah.
So when I was in the middle of the sparring match, all I could think in my head was, Travis, stick your hand out here so I could tap it.
He was trying to tag
so we
me
could
in.
switch out so he could jump in. But I'll tell you what about Japan. That was the first time different people showed up to every class. You did not know what their level was. So the weird thing is, and you probably fall into this a lot, but I don't normally get to spar with people my own size. They're normally 180, 190, 200. They're always bigger or larger. In Japan, that happened quite frequently. And I'll let Travis tell the story about this guy that showed up. But I will tell you, while I was in Japan, I had several toes dislocated. It was interesting there. Like the rolls would get pretty interesting.
Yeah, they're pretty intense over there, man.
Yeah, like it was really odd because people would show up that
Is this
weren't
the same gym that you guys?
no
The Crow's Nest. No.
This one was open to anyone. It was a free class, but sometimes people would show up and they weren't like normal people that would come every day. They would maybe show up a class or two. And
Like they're
they would
TDY
show up
or something
like
like
no
that for a short
gi.
time.
They'd show up in no gi. You'd be in a gi, and like so you didn't really know what was going on. But go ahead and tell them about that guy.
So John, this guy was probably got to be early to mid 20s max. And you look at this guy, and this guy was built, right? So he was probably about John's size, maybe a little bit
He was
taller than
taller.
John, but he was definitely way leaner and younger than John. No offense, John, but he was. Right?
I'm fine with that.
But so we're rolling, and I think I sat out for.
You did. You were sitting on the sideline.
I was sitting on the side, and I was watching John roll with this guy. And you guys know the movie where Leonardo DiCaprio gets attacked by the bear?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what it looked like for me. John was Leonardo DiCaprio, and he was getting mauled by a bear.
Oh my God,
Dude.
I was doing everything I could to
I
survive.
I legitimately was like looking at him like, I will miss you. I love you. Don't-
Goodbye, my friend.
Goodbye. Bye.
He's not lying.
Bye,
It was
my
one of the
old
hardest roles I've
friend.
ever had in my life.
But so he's rolling with this guy, and what I thought was funny was not how bad John was getting mauled was how frustrated the other guy was because John's defense was so good, right? Like, yeah, John was getting like mauled like by a bear.
It was like 5 minutes of intense 100% kill me.
Yes, but John just kept putting him back in half guard and kept getting him back into guard, and the guy would just be so strong and youthful, he would just smash right past it, right? And then John would just go through the cycle again. And the guy literally looked at me and was like, I don't get it, right? Like, and afterwards,
I was like, how did you just sit there and watch that?
Afterwards, John gets up off the mat, like he's like, and he's his gi pants are like undone.
Hey, this is $5 per surgery. I wasn't healed yet.
His pants are like falling down. There's no gi top, and he looks at me. He's like trying to tie his gi pants, walking away, and I just look. I'm just sitting there like, well, that was interesting.
I'll never
I felt
forget that.
so bad for him because this guy was going after it. Like he was obviously 100% of like a high school varsity wrestler, cross facing John. Just like
it was rough. It was brutal,
smashing him and stuff. And I was like, whew. But the beautiful thing was he had absolutely no submission, so John survived.
There was no tap, but I was like, the win was just surviving
Give that guy
that.
a year.
I was like, whew, how did I survive that? Yeah, it was interesting.
And you did it too, man. You know what I mean? It's like
right.
that's
the thing you have to think about it
Yeah.
too. Like jiu-jitsu didn't. It prepared you to defend that.
Yes.
You know? Right. And we talk about it too because I feel like going against one of those brand new like sporadic, like you said earlier, white belts is a testament to your skill level, right? Like as long as you can control that sporadic white belt, like you're doing good, right? Yeah. Like because that's going to be most likely that's going to be the streets, right? That's what that person's most likely in the streets going to do that has no training or something like that. Now randomly you might run into a black belt of jiu-jitsu, you might get sat down afterwards like you need to work on this. You know what I mean? But our buddy Trey, who is our purple belt out there, talked about it a lot. And what really set me back is when I was in Japan, I never once ever had someone tell me I was too strong or I was going too hard, right?
Absolutely.
Right? When I got back,
doesn't surprise me.
When I got back, that's when it started happening. And I was so used to rolling with our purple and brown belts out there, and they were like, no, you could go as hard as you want because not only are you testing yourself to make sure that you know what you're doing, but you're testing me as a higher belt to make sure that my game is tight.
Dude, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's like if I can't defend a white belt that's going 100%, then is my game really as tight as I think it is? And that's the reason why I think I got Trey one time in the 3.5 months I was there. You know what I mean? And he got me. I couldn't even tell you how many times.
Right.
And Trey wasn't as strong as me. Was a purple belt from American Top Team, so he was legit, right? But he was never ever worried in the slightest about me. He knew exactly what I was gonna do. And then Marcus, there was a purple belt out there. His name was Marcus, and he was probably about as tall as me, maybe 150 pounds. I don't think
Fit guy too, right?
Huh?
Fit guy, Asian.
Yeah.
He
So
put
you
it
know
on me.
Marcus?
He put
I
it
don't
on
think
me.
I don't
Put it on me a
don't
couple
think
times.
I ever once, even for a split second, had him concerned in the slightest. This man manhandled me like I was a 3-year-old child all over the mat, dude. I remember one time we were doing King of the Hill, and it was passing guard. And I walked over to him, and I just grabbed his ankles, and I flipped his ankles as hard as I could to, like, pass. Boy, was that a mistake, because the next thing I knew, I was on my back tapping. Like, I went to go pass, and he, like, Granby rolled, and then he, what sweep is it called when you grab an ankle, hook behind their leg with your foot, and then pull with the foot? And
kind of like a De La Hiva.
Yeah, kind of like a De La Hiva, but they don't have the De La
head.
Hiva in, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So he had that, and I was, like, quick on my back. And he's like, man, when people play hard, I just got to go harder. And I was like, you know what?
Yeah, I
I'm
thought
good.
you were joking that first time because the first time I rolled with him, I think I surprised him because I almost caught him in a wrist lock and he didn't know
And
what
then
was up.
it never happened again.
Then the second time he beat the shit out of me, and the third time he beat the shit out of me, and I was like, all right. The first time he just know what was
Dude,
happening.
this guy was, I'm telling you, man, like, he was so solid.
Yeah, he was great.
And he was the type of person, we had a couple guys out there that literally in the middle of your roll would just be talking to you like nothing's happening, and you're trying to your hardest. And they're like, yeah, so how was your day at work? What do you mean, how was my day at work? I'm trying to. Exactly. That's what it was like. You know what I mean? And Marcus was one of them. And it was deceiving how good he was because he would walk up and you're like, this is a smaller guy. You know what I mean? And then he's putting on you left and right. Like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and just back out and take my white belt off and just act like I've never done this before.
Yeah.
There's days where I'm like, I feel like I'm a blue belt. I feel like I'm up there. I can do pretty good. Right? And there's days like, man, I should probably take all these stripes off this belt and then go ahead and burn this thing.
And you know, I think
though.
like rolling with like higher belts, man. Like I think it's really fun because like that's when you get like for yourself. Like I feel like you could go as hard as you can, but at the same time, that person has been through the shit that like the stuff that you've been going through, that they could keep it safe still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I mean, like one of our brown belts, like this guy named Nathan. Like he's definitely one of my favorite guys to roll with, just because like everything I try to attempt, right? He knows what I'm doing, man.
Yes, they're feeding it.
And it gives me my chance to actually
clean up your game.
Try to execute it and see what I could learn from it, see how they're gonna defend from it. You know what I mean? And then like when somebody rolls with me that's like a lower belt or just less experienced, like honestly, I slough it. I put myself in a situation where it gives them a chance to go try out what you want to do.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna try to survive out of that, so they could tell what they need to fix up on.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you like rolling with white belts as a black belt? Do you feel like people kind of up into a certain point feel like they have to prove themselves to you in a role as a black belt? You know what I mean? And also, I know it was kind of mentioned when you came to our gym. Like a lot of people did not know. Well, obviously, no one knew that you were a black belt. Once you put it on, they're like, "All right."
Well, you were actually our first black belt to visit the gym other than our professor.
Yeah, I didn't want to put on the black belt in your gym.
No?
Why not?
That was awesome. We're like, finally.
I love when higher belts visit our gym. I'm not even gonna lie to you. To me, it's not even like I want to beat this person. I want to experience what they have. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I want to feel what it feels like to be a brown belt or what it feels like to be like a senior purple or a black belt. So when I was getting my butt kicked by your black belt, I was like,
it might have been a
love
mood.
It.
At that time, it was probably more of a mood thing. I just wanted like part of the reason I went to the gym was I just wanted like a quiet night. Just wanted to train.
Yeah.
Just be invisible. You know, and that's just sometimes you just want to just see somebody show a technique and try it. And, you know, not have any noise about it. And then that particular night, I didn't really know like if it would be rude to do what I wanted to do, and then you know, I tied my belt. It was a black belt. I don't know if
and the gym got quiet.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit!
I felt eyes all over me, and I was like, I just didn't. It's not something that I wanted that particular night, you know. And
you were looking for a different thing, right?
Yeah, and
we can carry other belts in your bag. Just throw them wherever you want.
Just throw them a white one.
You got them all.
Well then,
just go ahead whatever you feel like.
Then the opposite end of the spectrum is, well, now it's rude because now I'm hiding it or something. Yeah. You know, I don't know. But your original question was,
how do you like rolling? What was it? Yeah, how do you like rolling with white belts, like newer white belts? And do you feel like junior belts do you feel like they try to prove themselves to you?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Well,
kind of in a sense.
How do I like rolling with white belts? It depends.
Are you ever worried?
Yes.
Is it just off injury because you don't know how, like, if they know, like, when
if they catch you in something, they might,
or if they just don't even know what to watch out for, like lay low here or don't
Jelson's
push
going to
here.
the bathroom again.
Oh my god! Quit calling them out.
Sorry. It's got kind of like a multi-part answer to that, I think. Sometimes, like if I'm worried, if I'm worried about injury would be one thing, right? You know, I got a bad neck, I got a bad lower back. And if the guy is significantly larger than me, and he looks like he's fit or maybe wrestled or something or has like some other grappling experience, I do kind of worry about that, honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah, so sometimes I don't like it maybe, or I don't want to in that regard. Sometimes sometimes it's a joke. Like if I maybe I feel good and I want to have good rolls that day. And sometimes no offense. You
Right.
know, I mean everybody's new, right? Now I feel bad for saying that.
No,
It's totally makes sense.
Because it's everyone's
Well,
different.
so-
There's days I go to the gym and I might pick just junior white belts because I just
Yeah.
want something easier. Not in a sense of like they're easy,
Or
but
you just want
I
to try some stuff.
I just want to try some stuff, or I just don't want to have to think so hard. You know what I
I
mean?
want to try and be clear about how I really feel about that. Sometimes it's a joke. Like sometimes like the guy has no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, people are there sometimes, and that's just the way it is. And if you're trying to practice, and me being selfish, sometimes I want to practice myself, and sometimes I don't want to teach.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just like, well, like now I just, I make up a submission. Sometimes I choke the person out with some move I didn't even mean to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, so sometimes it's just like that. It's necessary though. And that's kind of, part of everyone's responsibility, I feel, as you get better at it to help people get better.
Yeah. So a quick thing on.
I don't know if I really answered that question very well. It's a long,
it's a very
multi-part
complicated
answer. I feel.
Yeah, and if you don't want to get into it, that's perfectly fine.
Well, while you asked him that, this is one thing I've noticed lately. So when I roll now with a higher belt, like the black belt we have visiting, and I roll with him the first time, I did not roll near as hard with him as I would with our professor. So when I roll with our professor now, he's already told me he's not going to hold back. So now when we roll, we like really go at it. We roll, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if he submits me 50 times in that 5 minutes, but like we really give it our all. So maybe sometimes when you roll with those white belts, they just don't know they can do that with you. So that's why I said like the
Absolutely.
discussion.
That's a very good point. Yeah, absolutely.
So now, like, if I rolled with you again, I would be like, "Yo, Chris, I really want to go hard. Are you okay with that?"
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, if
see
you
what
if
you're
you
saying.
roll and I'm like, oh, like I actually have to defend myself. Well,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
now
Yeah.
you're.
But sometimes you might not
Now I
know
gotta
that they're actually not
play.
doing what may be like
Sure.
some full potential
Mhm.
because they're
That's a
trying to
good
show
point.
respect and they don't want to come at you like
Mhm.
that.
I will
That's
say
something
that
I've
too.
learned lately.
Yeah.
And it's so this is like you could do, and Jelson's back, by the way. You could be because you've kickboxed and boxed and grappled
I'm sure it's
before,
more striking too.
I think the one thing I constantly hear about, like the difference between when you're new at grappling versus new at kickboxing or striking, I'm just going to say striking from now on, is like 3 months of striking, you have kind of this intuitive movement that you can kind of hang
Mm-hmm.
with some people. Grappling 3 months, you're still just way off
Figuring
the
it
mark
out.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a thing too, I mean, somebody comes in, they're super new and they,
Yep.
they don't know what they're doing. Yeah. I don't know if I answered the question there, but yeah, I mean,
No, there was another question I wanted to ask you that we're talking about in the middle of that. Oh crap! Oh, so
that's
What
my
it-
secret. I forgot what we were talking about.
what it was? You mentioned it is you kind of think when they're new, right? And you kind of play with them, and you don't go as hard. Like some days you just don't want to try as hard, right? It's kind of what you.
We all have those days.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But what I would like to get your guys' opinion on is, are you doing yourself a disservice? Or are you doing the other person a disservice when you have those days, right? When you have those days when you're rolling with someone not as high of a skill set as you, are you hurting yourself more or are you hurting them more when you do that, right?
I think you're hurting yourself more if you only do one all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, John, if every time we rolled, I rolled the same way that we rolled, or Travis, every time we rolled, I rolled the same way that we rolled, then I think I'd be doing a disservice to you.
Gotcha.
So sometimes, sometimes I should run away. If that's like, I should just play like escapes. Sometimes I should go for it. That way, you get like a variety, you get more training. The easiest example to make that kind of clear what I mean is like if I roll with somebody that I have a lot more skill or strength, and I just crush them. I just throw them on their back, side control, north, south, Kimura, finish over and over and over and over and over because I know how to do it and I know it works. Well, then that's a disservice. Once in a while, I could try it, but then sometimes maybe change it up. Let the other person maybe kind of lighten up on the pressure a little bit and see if they can work some movement or something like that and kind of get them on the right path or something like that. So,
Depends. It depends.
It kind of goes both ways, man.
Yeah, it goes both ways.
Because sometimes with me, if I do roll with somebody and like I do the same stuff over and over. Oh, like sometimes I'm trying to point out, it's like, hey, man, I'm keep on doing this and it's working every time.
Well, I'm on that.
What are you
process,
doing to change it? You know what I mean? So like honestly, to me, it's like a personal mood, like what you're into. It's like if you wanna, if I'm kind of like greedy and I want myself to learn more, I'm gonna try to pick and choose and roll with higher belts.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But if I feel like sloughing it, chilling out a little bit, but give somebody else an opportunity to like work on their skill set, I'll go with like my belt or lower. And
stuff. I mean, you say it that way, but like it could be also like a matter of like go with a lower belt.
Yeah.
And run away. Let them try and do whatever submission. Like maybe they know. Like you could roll with a 4-stripe white belt. I'm just gonna say. Who's really good at this one Darce choke or really good at this ankle lock or something like that. And just feel them like set it up and maybe slowly like let them get as close as they can get
to
the
that borderline, right?
Or to whatever point of no return. Yeah. And as and some you change it up. You vary at what point do you really, really try and get out of it, And like another way you could do it too is like at what point do you apply the pressure, in that regard, maybe you get to a certain position where you're at the defense of the choke and then explode out of it and like maybe roll with a white belt as a higher ranked person, and get as close as you can get and then try and escape. That way you have like an opportunity to actually have to try something yourself too, and that's probably the, white belts can contribute because of the unpredictable technique,
dude, that's for sure, man. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many ways you can kind of force yourself to learn.
Where you go, Travis? You just hit the
I did not hit that. That was completely Jelson.
Jelson, do you find, I don't know how your sparring goes, but is it like just open mat and anybody can spar, or how does that work? I mean, do you find, this is the reason I'm asking that. So now I find our classes pretty much have like, I don't know, about 30 people in them?
Yeah.
So, man, now, like, when it's, like, open mat time, like, I'm trying to stay away from the bigger guys. Like, them big guys make eye contact, I'm like, I'm not interested. I try to find people more in my range.
It's unpleasant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not just that, but, like, yeah, you're right. It's unpleasant. And I don't know if it's a disservice to me or not for not doing it, but I've done it so many times now, like, I'm just not interested. I don't get to practice as much with somebody that's 220 pounds. Like, I just feel like
But you do.
You
mean you don't think you do because you don't
survival the whole time.
Yeah, you don't get to do as much.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
so
there's some things I want to practice.
You're looking at it from like a quantity. I'm arguing. I know, but
no. I value it, but I'm like, man, I want to try some things, and I know when it's like that kind of a difference, I don't get to try them. I'm just defending.
It's the same as like what you were talking about in Japan with that wrestler. Like you can survive.
I can survive, but I don't get to go offense, and I want to work on that. Like, that's what I'm trying to work on.
That's why you got to pick and choose, man. Like, I really am so picky with who I roll with because, like, what I'm trying to work in, I'll work on. Like, every time I come to the gym, it's like, it's already, like, I don't know, for me, like, I already thought of it. Like, who do I want to roll with today, and how do I want to, like, move forward with what I'm struggling at or whatever.
That's what I was curious.
You know what I mean? So, like, with, like, bigger dudes, man, like, there's this one white belt that, like, I could tell he wants to roll with me, but then I like me being an outside, like being observant of how he rolls. It's like, for your size and my size, it probably won't be safe for me because there's ones where
you're
you
coming
can
at
tell
it from a safety perspective. Yeah.
Yes, that safety perspective for sure, man. And like once he mounts and then he gets the arm, I could just tell he like just go for it.
That's
Like
what
I'm not trying to
of.
be like that at 130 pounds with your big old 200 plus
Yeah.
pounds. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's okay to be choosy with who you roll with, man.
I was curious how that works because, like, man,
Yeah.
I don't know if like people like if they because it's interesting when you do competition, it's weight class, but when you train, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So I just find that interesting.
So once again, are you doing a disservice to yourself or the other person?
that's why I'm not sure. Like, I feel like it's weird though. Like, if you're gonna go compete, it's in a weight class, but when you're training, it's not. So you don't get to train the same way you're gonna compete. Like, that's where I'm kind of in this weird.
If you're training to just compete in your weight class, then maybe you should just stick with your weight.
Yes.
Maybe vary it
But-
a little
but-
bit. But like if you're training for like an overall, if you're training jujitsu, I feel like you should kind of dabble in a little bit of
Yeah,
everything. You know what I mean? And I think you should roll with the bigger guys, even though it doesn't
Yeah.
go your way and it kind of sucks a little bit, and you're not working on necessarily what
what you're
your
trying to work
offense or
on.
well,
Yeah.
I mean sure. I mean, like just dealing with pressure and surviving and being uncomfortable, and getting you're fighting for smaller movements, and
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think
but safety is super important too. I mean, and not to take away from what you said, like sometimes like you just see that one guy is just huge and dangerous and spazzy, and I'm like, well, my safety is a little more important than
for sure, because you want to be able to do it again the
but some
next
exposure,
day.
Right.
But some exposure to larger opponents who
Mm-hmm.
do things that you're not comfortable with is
Yeah.
being uncomfortable is very, very important. I feel like.
Yeah, and I think you should always be uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Because,
Yeah, get comfortable and being uncomfortable.
Yeah, and like I mean, look at me, dude. I'm usually the smallest dude.
That's what I was asking.
Right, like
how does
every
that
time,
work?
even
Yeah.
in Japan, I'm like the smaller guy. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just sucks for me that way. But like, it gives me a chance to just like feel everybody out. Cause like by the time I'm so used to rolling with bigger dudes, and I choose to roll with bigger dudes because like it puts me in that situation where I
Yeah.
really have to survive, right? And then now it comes down to like somebody my skill level, and then like my weight, it just gets it's like so much easier. I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I completely understand, and that's one thing is like, no matter if you're competing or you're not, I think I slightly disagree with you, Chris. Just slightly, in a sense. I feel like
On the which part?
You should still roll with bigger people, even if
Okay.
you're 100% competing. In my eyes, just because they're offering something that you will not receive from people your size, right? Whether it's the same skill level or not, moving a larger person and be able to survive a larger person is completely different than being able to survive someone that is the same size as you, right? If you know, it might build confidence, it might test technique, right? If you are constantly rolling with someone the same size as you, you're not being challenged in the sense of, this technique might only work with this size person. You know what I mean? Like you won't develop your game in the sense of, yes, it works for Jelson on someone the size of Jelson, right? But Jelson can pull things off with someone the size of Jelson because they're the same size, right? It doesn't develop the technique to get better, right? As where let's say deep half into like X guard or something like that, where you sweep the leg over, you're in deep half, you underhook, right? It may work for Jelson on someone the size of Jelson because he can maneuver it a little bit differently because they are the same size. Now, say Jelson tries to go deep half on me, he underhooks the leg to go into X guard, but because I am so large, the holes in his game are exposed that he didn't know were there beforehand. Now are there, right? So now he has to change his game up so he knows that it's not as good as he thought it was, so he can develop as a person. That's kind of like where I go as it. I think you should always be going with someone bigger, better, and stronger than you.
I thought that was what I said.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Oh, is it? Okay,
Yeah.
maybe I.
But
maybe
you
I
solidified it
misunderstood.
greatly.
Yeah, maybe I misunderstood it a little bit differently because I thought it was, if you're training for support, you should only stick with people to your size.
No.
Oh, okay. Maybe I misunderstood. That's a misunderstanding on my part. Okay. Because I was like, no,
Like
Chris,
maybe
you may be a black
I-
belt, but I
I-
disagree with that.
Well, no, it's fine. No, and I don't claim to know everything. Like maybe you should stick more your
size. Yeah, absolutely. But you should still have
should
those
always.
challenges.
I think you should always vary. I don't think you should ever be
I
an
agree.
extreme
I just
on
mean
anything.
towards like competition. Like if you're getting ready for competition, like what are you doing? Are you picking your partner that's at your size because you know that's what you're going to compete at? You know, that's what I'm really getting at.
Because
right?
it's going to be more realistic.
Like, yeah,
too.
like
it's gonna
you're
be
a
more
few-
realistic.
Like
right?
you're a few months out. When you go to spar, are you picking people that you know are going to be like what you're going against in
Yeah.
competition?
I think it's a matter of you should vary your attributes instead of looking at just size. You should look at attributes. Like you should roll with people who are slower than you, and you should roll with people who are faster than you. You should roll with people who are stronger, and you should roll with people who are weaker than you. You should roll with taller and shorter and thinner and fatter, and you should
All
just
of it.
have the variety
Absolutely.
because you don't know what you're gonna run into.
Right. And that's kind of why, like, when people talk about like kind of cherry picking rolling, I mean, we're all guilty of it. If you've done jiu-jitsu longer than 3-4 months, you cherry pick.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I catch myself as like, well, should I really cherry pick? You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, like, who is it benefiting? It might not be anyone it's benefiting, right? Like, just because I'm a little nervous that person might catch me in an arm bar or a triangle or something like that, and they might go a little bit too hard. Well, I have to be cognizant of that
From
and
like a
put
sparring
myself,
perspective,
and not put myself in that position. So now I know, like, this person might just break my freaking arm if they catch me in an arm bar. Maybe I should just work on my game of not putting myself in a position where they're gonna catch me in an arm bar. You know what I'm saying? Like you said earlier, kind of playing the devil's advocate on it because
It's important. Yeah,
it's important. Because I don't want people to listen to this and be like, well, I mean, on Elbows Type Podcast, they said I should only roll with people my size. It's like, that's not what we're saying at all.
We're definitely saying
Don't do that. You know what I mean? Like and that's what I'm getting at, right? Like,
Established.
It's everything is a give and take in jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? There's always slight nuances to everything, and there's always situational things that are going on, even in technique, even in training, even in your day-to-day things that are going on, whether it's you watching videos or whatever it is. There's always what's going on at the moment when you are trying it. You know what I mean? Like, where's their leg at? How much pressure's on you? Are they doing this grip? It's like there's so many subtle things that you have to think about. You should never look at it as black and white, no matter what it is in jiu-jitsu. In my eyes, right? It should never be black and white because there's always a situation that you are looking outside the box. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu is it's not binary. It's not yes and no, right? It's always a maybe. It's always it depends. And it can be frustrating at a time, especially for someone that's brand new to the sport or to the beautiful art of folding clothes while people are in them. You know what I mean? Like it's always a maybe. It's always a, well, it depends, right? Because there's no solid answers. Because honestly, you have to be able to understand what's going on at the situation and have enough knowledge to know that's what's going on at that time. You know what I mean? So I don't want people to ever think, whether it's competing or self-defense, like, I need to only roll with someone my size, or I only need to roll with someone bigger than me. Because even if you only roll with people that are bigger than you, you're going to skip a part of your game that will work on people the same size as you. Mm-hmm. Exactly, right? Mm-hmm. Like a De La Hiva is not going to work on someone 200 pounds or 80 pounds heavier than you. You know what I mean? Sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, or X-Guard, because they're just going to sit on you. Like, sorry, bro, this is not going to work right now. I'm just that much bigger than you. You know what I'm saying? So always look in,
even from like a sport to like self-defense, like you shouldn't do just self-defense or just
exactly
sport,
yeah,
like
absolutely.
If you just do self-defense, you're going to throw away a whole bunch of techniques that could be very situational.
Yes, because there are people out there
but they
that
might
know
come up.
jiu-jitsu in the streets,
or if you just do the sport.
That took me a long time to come to terms with.
Oh god, there's a really cool Hickson video that I watched where I think it's one of the worlds, and he's got everybody rounded up around him, and he's got, I think it's a purple belt, and he tells his purple belt, he gets in his guard, and he says, all right, we're going to start sparring and do whatever you want to do. And then he says, all right, ready? Go. And then they start going, and then Hickson rears up for a punch. And then the purple belt just like loses, like he just like,
he's
like,
like,
he's
no
like,
idea
whoa,
what's
like, what
going
do I
on.
do?
Yeah.
What do I do? And he's like, well, see, like, there you go. Like, you
There's a hole in your game.
There's a hole in your game.
There's a hole in your game. Yeah, no, I
And,
agree. And that's in like John talked about, like, now the more that I do jiu-jitsu, I see the benefit in the point style, the holding someone down, the more competition based techniques,
A rewarding position.
right? You know what I mean? Because when you tell someone you want to hold them there for 3 seconds in your 4 points, it doesn't click in their head. You want to hold someone there. The idea is holding someone, right? 3 seconds is just a time frame, right? If you can hold someone for 3 seconds, they're probably going to expend as much energy as possible in those 3 seconds to get out of that position. So in your head, you should be thinking, in a self-defense situation, if I can hold someone there for 3 to 5 seconds, they're probably expending a lot of energy to try to get out of it, right?
Yep.
So it's still a beneficial thing for self-defense as well, right? So in order for that to click in your head, it takes a little bit of time. You know what I mean? And it took us a while
Long time.
to understand that, right? Like, just because someone's saying hold it there for 3 seconds because of points doesn't mean hold them there for 3 seconds because they expend a lot of energy and they might be exhausted afterwards. And then congratulations, you're not getting punched in the mouth. You know what I mean? Like, that's that. So when people are brand new to jiu-jitsu and they're like, oh man, this is all competition based, like, I don't know about this. It's like, well, there's still benefits in both. Like you just said, Chris, there's still benefits in both. You have to look at both ends of the spectrum.
Well, I think part of it's explaining that.
And I think so. Once
You
once
could even
again,
look at it from like another perspective. Like take I used to love Jose Aldo. I mean, still do.
yes, Jose
Yeah.
Aldo's amazing.
Jose or whatever.
Jose.
They called him Jose
Jose.
Aldo when I started watching him,
Jose.
I thought. But he's a jiu-jitsu black belt,
Yeah.
right? I mean, what do you see him do?
Amazing
when
striker.
he's on his back.
He's just
He gets
yeah.
up.
Yep.
He gets up. He doesn't. He gets up. He's
Yep.
because he's an amazing striker, maybe. But I mean, God, like he uses jiu-jitsu skills.
Like when he wants to.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? Because he knows he has it there, right? Like, he doesn't have to fall back on it. You know what I mean? If you watch the Conor McGregor Nate Diaz fight, especially the second one, Nate Diaz is a Renzo Gracie black belt, right? Legit black
Diaz
belt.
brothers are some of my favorite.
Like,
favorite
I'm not even gonna
yeah.
lie to you. Like, people may hate on them, but they are some of the most legit
I've
people
heard they're
in the
very
UFC.
nice and.
I've heard that
real
too,
life,
right?
Yeah.
But the second fight with McGregor, he was falling on the ground because he knew McGregor is not as legit as him at jiu-jitsu, right? So he get punched in the face and he flop. He'd be like,
Yeah.
oh.
His fall and it's like try to bait
Yes,
him in. And
right,
stuff, you know
right.
what I
And a
mean?
lot of people see that like, oh, Conor McGregor's getting him every single time. I'm like, Nate's trying to bait him in because Nate knows in the first fight he caught him with a super simple rear naked choke. Very simple rear naked choke. And then in the second one, he's like, fall to the ground. Let's do this again because I know I will get you on the ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. It's an interesting thing to look at.
I don't particularly think of the Diaz brothers as like very awesome competitive.
No, they have a really bad
IBJJF.
record. Yeah.
But like, I still think of them as super good jiu-jitsu guys.
Yes,
You know
they
what I
are.
mean?
They're
Oh my-
legit.
like
They are.
you know, so it's different. You know, it may not be like the jiu-jitsu that you would see in competition, but man, it's solid jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's dangerous to jiu-jitsu too, man. Like if you were fighting them, it's like fuck, I don't want to go on the ground.
Well, if you look at Nate is a solid striker too.
Yeah.
Like his boxing,
Mm-hmm.
like his 1-2
They're both- yeah.
is his straight with the follow with the no. If you get hit with that, that's what happened to Conor, and that's why he gave up his back because he got hit with that 1-2, fell to the
He
ground.
got frustrated.
He
man.
got frustrated, right? He was getting outstriked, and then he fell to the ground, and Nate was like, whoop, whoop, gotcha.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And then the second round, he was like, all right, I'm like, or the second fight, he's like, I ain't gonna do that again.
I haven't
Right?
watched Nate as much, but like Nick, like the way he boxes, man. They're not like
The
it's not like
Compton
he's
slap.
throwing like crazy, like predetermined combos. He's like picking his shots,
Yeah.
like in the moment.
Mhm.
It
Yep.
looks like to me, you know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's so cool,
Yeah, they're really good. I really like them as well. So
and they're real trash talkers too.
Yeah,
they're not doing it.
They're
for
like the OGs.
They're not doing it for the
of this
screen.
trash
Yeah,
talking.
that's just what
Back
they
in the
do.
Strike Force days, Nick just manhandling people with trash talk. Pride too. Nick was in Pride for a while, right?
Mm-hmm. Back when they allowed the soccer kick.
They did. They
Oh,
did. Back
yeah,
when
man.
could you imagine being on the ground and then someone just
No, I don't wanna.
kicking you, especially because they had shoes back in the day too, and like they're not feeling nearly as much of the power like in their foot as your face. You know what I mean? And they're just soccer kicking the crap out of your face over and over again, punching you in the back of the head. No.
Yeah,
No,
it's
thank
insane, man. I've seen somebody get soccer kicked to the face at a pancrase fight in Japan. And it's like,
it looks
guy was out, dude. Like, got kicked, boom, out, stretcher.
Ugh.
Jeez, like,
No thanks.
Like, I mean,
I'm
I know it's like it's okay to do it over there, but to me, it's like, oh, that's a little
glad
too
it's
much,
illegal.
bro. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely,
Glad
absolutely.
it's legal now. Yeah.
Well, guys,
But we need to get some tips before we close this up.
Yeah.
I think we can get a tip from.
Go ahead,
I'd like
John.
2 tips. So, one for a white belt, one for a purple belt, one for a white belt, one for a black belt. So we'll start with you. What's a good tip you would give to a white belt that is, let's go anywhere from first day to a year into jiu-jitsu, and also a purple belt?
Like, just listening to this and just like picking up, like being freshly brand new. It's okay to like to get beat by somebody. You know what I mean? It's like you don't like if you like I said, like I was saying earlier, like nobody ever wants to be the loser, and they don't, and that's why we have that competitive like heart of us. You know what I mean? It's like we don't want to lose.
Right, we're competitive.
But like it's okay to, like, if you're starting something out, like, and you're fresh to it, it's like accept it for what it is, you know. Like, really the whole ego thing, it'll get checked real quick.
yeah.
So it's just calm it down, accept what you're learning, and enjoy it. You know, you don't always have to go out there and just prove yourself like 100% I belong here, because you know what I mean. It's like you're trying it out,
Right,
right? You're
yeah,
trying it out.
yeah.
You got to feel it out. So don't get discouraged just because you got tapped or someone's better than you. I mean, someone's better than you because they've been doing it before you, and they've been more consistent about it. If you're brand new, you're brand new. Period. That's how I see it, man.
Yeah.
You know,
So what about a purple belt?
from a purple belt to another purple belt.
Yeah, like what if you
someone that just
experience
got
like
promoted.
brand new purple belt, man? Like something you've experienced, like
That one is, I think it's like you already know, you like you already have a part of the game. You already felt it, right? And I don't know, like if you're going to a new gym or whatever, like make yourself clear, like, hey man, this is what I'm about, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want to work on. Have that open communication. You know what I mean? Don't just go out there and try to bully people. I'm not like that, so I'm gonna say that. You know what I mean?
We got Matt downstairs to find that out. You know what I'm saying?
Let's go.
I gotta get up at 3 in the morning and go to work. That's gonna be y'all.
Me too, actually. I'm gonna tap right now.
All right, I like it. Chris, what do you got?
For a
Let's
for
get a
Brand
white
new
belt.
white belt, bro.
Man,
Brand new.
What does every
Anywhere from a day
everybody
to a
probably
year.
says show up. So show up would be the one. But for something a little more unique, have fun with it, man. Like somebody hits a sweep on you or a submission, man. Go like look at it from like a different perspective. Like, man, that was sick.
Yeah.
How'd you get
Yeah,
that?
dude.
Like show
Yeah,
me.
Learn.
Like, how'd you do that? Like, oh, that was so good. You see something from far off and distance. Oh, how'd you do that? Show me what you're thinking. So be a sponge. For black belts, you don't know as much as you think you know, probably, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
You know, you probably got a lot of things that work for you. Maybe you could beat everyone in your gym, but there's probably something you don't know. And it's probably someone who you beat all the time probably knows something you don't know. So,
Maybe don't get comfortable.
yeah.
I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah, don't be comfortable.
Don't
Always
be
have that,
comfortable.
like,
there you go. That's a good one.
Have
Yeah.
an open mind
I
all
like
the
John's
time,
tip.
man.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's what
No,
it
we're
sounds
just-
like when you tell it to me. That I like what I hear when you say that
That's
is don't
John.
be
That's a
comfortable.
white belt tip to the black belt.
yeah, right. Don't get comfortable because they're coming for you.
Not me. When you put it that way, I'm
Watch
thinking,
out,
don't
man.
be
You know it's a
comfortable.
real thing when they get good, and you're like, "Oh my God, you got good. I gotta watch out for you."
That's
That's
awesome
such a cool
thing.
feeling.
Yeah, it's such a good feeling. Yeah. Hey guys, so I mean we've been going for a minute now.
Yeah, man, for
So,
real. That was,
the
that's
the
cool,
longest
though.
one
yeah.
podcast?
Yeah. Your guys' first podcast. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for
thank you
experiencing
both.
with us,
Thank
man.
you
Thank
for
you
Hey,
guys,
so
too.
I just want to say thank you guys, honestly, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for being on the show today. We went a long time, a lot of drinks. I'm slightly drunk. If you guys can't tell from my voice, like, no. So I just want to say thank you, Jelson and Chris, so much for being on the show today. Thank you, John, for showing up, driving all the way over here. Remember to follow us on Instagram, Facebook. Everything is at Elbows Tight Podcast. Don't forget, Chris, where can they find you at if they want to follow you, maybe on your journey?
Oh man, I don't have I'm not a social media guy, man.
You're not a social media guy?
Come
Well,
visit me at my gym, hybrid gym in East Bremerton.
There you go. Hybrid gym in East Bremerton. There you go. What about you, Jelson?
Well, I do have Instagram, Jelson_G. You'll find me there. And also, if you guys want to roll, man, anytime. 253 BJJ in Tacoma. Hit me up and then come in on a Monday, bro.
Come in on a Monday. That's right. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. John, you got last things to say?
If I come on a Monday, I'm going to have to take Tuesday off. But we'll work it out.
It's all good, bro. Hey, we could carpool too, man.
Yeah, there we go. Yo, so thank you guys so much once again. Hey, you guys enjoy your night. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, like the Facebook page. Please, please, please like and subscribe and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. That is how we get noticed even more. You guys are fantastic out there. And don't forget, no oil checks here. Later, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
Woo! Yo, that was fun, man. That was fun, bro.
It's not bad, right?